Fingers crossed. We're live. Welcome to the Out There channel. Live stream 199, almost 200. Looks like Sunday's one's going to be 200. I'm just going to cue the intro music and just do a few checks. This operation. We've got a new audio setup again. Hopefully no crackles or hiss. There's John. There's Elle. And there's Robert. And his dog called Mush, was it?
Mush.
Mush.
He's one of the snow dogs.
Yeah.
He's that type of thing.
Yeah. I hope you ain't too loud. Does seem louder. Well, you do.
Okay, see what the guys say.
Well, this is not on your mic, okay? It sounds alright though.
It has to be on the mic.
I mean, your headset mic.
Yeah, of course it has to be.
No, it doesn't. Could be on your laptop mic. Yeah. Can you hear it crackling? Hello. Good to be back. Okay, we finally got there. Okay. It's been a testing night. So we got new mini cam. And slightly different controls on it. Yeah, I need to mute that. So, Robert, what are we doing tonight?
Well, first off, Dalnegorsk, Siberia, 1986.
Okay.
Alleged UFO crash.
Okay, so how's he sounding, guys? Is he crackling at the end there at all? Or does it sound alright? Yeah. Alright. I'll just type in the welcome message.
Dal's funny.
Oh, what's going on here? I tell you, it's like we've got gremlins in the work again. We're only an hour late. But stupid Google was putting the wrong time countdown. It's saying it's 20 hours to go. They've changed it so you can't say not scheduled, so you can just have people wait. You know, it's kind of stupid, really. They probably broadcast a notification 20 hours later, right? So they'll start watching then. So this is UFO crashes, or a couple of them. Couple less known ones. So all those messages above probably will vanish once the stream's completed anyway. So all that there will vanish.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. That's alright. It cleans it up. Gets rid of all the pre-show chat. So we're looking at Siberia here on the map, which is next to, obviously, Japan. So we're going to this location here, which should be D. Just zoom into it. And that's where that big explosion happened quite a long time ago now, wasn't it? Was it 1800s?
Oh, you mean Tunguska?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 1907, I think, Paul.
1907. I thought it was a bit older than that, but
No, I don't think it is. You can check on that if you like, because it's kind of relevant to the case.
All right.
Tunguska, yeah.
Yep. So if you hear any crackle when he talks, let me know, because I'm going to have to turn him down a wee bit. Something's going crazy. Doesn't show much on the map here. This looks like a pretty rugged area with lots of forests. But it's quite interesting that I never even realised that Siberia was that close to Japan here. Look. So
yeah, it's I'm not surprised it's sparsely populated. It's not the kind of place you'd be
where's
hanging around in.
Is it Tun? Tun? Unfortunately, my eyes are a bit blurry. Going Tunuska. Here we go. Tunuska. So whereabouts is that on the map? It's a fair distance.
Yeah.
So Siberia is a fairly big chunk of land there then in that case, isn't it? It's right on the border of China, going all around here. So that sort of gives us an idea. 53-hour trip between that crash site and Tunuska. So we've got some links to post up.
Yeah, I've put them there for you.
Okay. Why is the right click not working? Don't give me that. Where's the pop-up?
Damn it, I hate it when I get things wrong. It was 1908, not 1907.
1908. Well, you can't expect to know 1 year difference. Oh, I posted it in the wrong place, didn't I? Oh, that's a long link. Ooh. Hey,
Start again.
Let's put YouTube at the front. That's the problem. Hope it's not YouTube. Yes. It's probably because you post it in the side chat and it adds YouTube on front. Well, I did push enter, but
no! Oh shit! Star's saying he can't hear anything.
Guys, I can't hear anything. Hey? You've got to be able to hear something. Hello? It's got to be, man. It's got to be broadcasting. Is it really no sound?
Yeah, it's just everything has stopped. What the hell?
That might be just his internet connection then. Okay, we better check. Since it looks like Google might have been playing around, I can't see why there wouldn't be any audio though. Okay, you're back.
You're back, yeah.
Oh well, we'll do a quick check anyway. Yeah, just keep an eye on the volume there. Google always doing changes. We're doing changes as well. I can't see why there wouldn't be any audio though. Sounds alright there when I'm talking. Okay, you're back.
You're back, yeah.
Oh well, we'll do a quick check anyway. I was hoping to hear Robert. I think Robert sounded alright there. Yeah, just keep an eye on the volume there. Google always doing changes. I think it's working alright. Okay, so we got this height 6'11". How are you? Rich, have we got someone else on here? Rob. Oh no, Rob. I tell you, my eyesight's getting worse. Okay, so better read out some of this then, I guess, and get the ball rolling. Let's read out the header, see if that works first. Oh, you had me panicking there for a minute,
The 1986 height 611 Dalnegorsk UFO crash.
Sounds alright. So yeah, it's one of these with a capital T, so we can't get it. We'll just do one chunk at a time.
The small mining town of Dalnegorsk in the Primorsky Krai region of southeastern Russia, bordered by China, North Korea, and the Sea of Japan, resides in a serene and picturesque valley within equally picturesque hills and woodland near the Rudnaya River. However, in late January 1986 that serenity was broken by an apparent UFO crash. And then, the intense rush of media attention on the area that would follow.
Okay, so on the map is the correct location then, because the Sea of Japan should be...
yeah, I told you we're in the right place, didn't I?
Sea of Japan. So we're in the right place for this crash. So it's looking good. And I got a picture here. It's funny how snowy it is and cold there is near the coast though, because normally when you're near the sea, you normally get the hot air currents, right? Because of the difference in the moisture in the air.
Yeah, sure, and the snow doesn't stick as well.
Mm.
But doesn't make it any less cold.
Yeah. Frozen snow on sea, I don't think would happen though, because of the salt content probably.
It can, you know.
Oh yeah, pretty sure it can, if it gets cold enough.
Hundreds of people would witness the events. And aside from the media interest, many Soviet UFO researchers would risk sending private accounts of the incident to like-minded researchers on the other side of the political divide and through the Iron Curtain. So significant are the events that many refer to them as the Roswell incident of the Soviet Union. And what's more, like such similar incidents around the world as the Roswell crash or the Red Lesham Forest incident, they remain, by and large, unexplained.
So this happened in 1986. The wall came down in 1989.
Yeah.
That's when the doors opened between the states, basically, the Western world and Russia with the UFO secrecy thing. They all started sharing stuff, so this came at a good time, if you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of this stuff was shared, but we'll see.
So we got 5 chapters here.
Yeah, and I don't mind about that. Let's go into the incident itself.
Which one's the incident? This one here. Impact.
Well, you...
Okay. Big chunk there.
Okay.
Impact and powerful explosion on Svestkova mountain at around 7:55 p.m. on the 29th of January 1986. A bright, reddish sphere appeared in the cold winter sky over Dalnegorsk. It would move with great speed, but made no sound whatsoever. Multiple residents of the small town witnessed the object seemingly flying parallel to the ground. It was a near-perfect round shape and apparently of a metal exterior the color of burning stainless steel. Yevgeny Serabov, a young boy at the time of the incident, would state that the object had neither tail nor trail behind it. The idea then that it might have been a meteor, if Serabov's description is accurate, he is now an accomplished scientist, is unlikely. This, incidentally, was confirmed by Soviet scientists who would arrive in the area in the aftermath of the incident. Suddenly, the strange aerial craft began to stutter and jerk slightly. It would then fall down like a rock, eventually crashing into the Svestkova mountain, otherwise referred to as height 611 in reference to its size. Most of the witnesses would describe the sound of the impact as a muted thump before the ruins would burn intensely for around an hour. Some estimates suggest the duration to be shorter. What most did agree on, however, was the fire was of an electrical nature. The editor of the local Truda Voicelovo newspaper, V. Korotko would state that after a short but powerful explosion he could see large reddish-white flames. He would state that the fire, although powerful, would only burn for several minutes. It is perhaps worth noting that some witnesses would report that the actual ground around the object began to burn. This might be the reason for the discrepancy in how long the object burned and how long the flames themselves were visible.
Well, I tried to find the location of this mountain, and it keeps bringing in this one for...
Well, it's not a mountain as such, it's more like a hill. I think 611 is referring to the actual height of that hill. I don't think it actually crashed down. I think it kind of landed, a soft landing, or maybe a forced landing.
It does kind of look like a hill there.
There was hundreds of witnesses to this, you know.
It does look like a hill there, a mountain range there, though.
Okay.
Yeah. But, it's just funny how Google sort of substituted that, and looks like that's a mountain track going up here, you see.
Yeah, I understand it's elevated ground. There's no doubt about that, which is maybe why it chose that.
Right. So, where do we get down to? Down to this. What's this here? The fragments. What's that say there?
You just don't miss any of the text, no.
Fragments. Kind of looks like a bullet with little holes for the gunpowder there. Yeah, kind of strange. So let's read out the rest of it then.
Investigation and the recovery of strange fragments and materials. Dr. Valery Dvurzilny, who was the head of the Far Eastern Committee for Anomalous Phenomena, was the first to lead an investigation into the incident during the opening days of February. However, before he arrived, a small group of locals, a mixture of children and adults, had ventured out to the site for themselves. They would discover a burnt-out tree stump and several indentions in the ground, presumably where the sphere had impacted. They didn't find any large pieces of debris as they were expecting. Like they would, for example, if it was a conventional plane crash. However, they would discover and collect several rock fragments with a strange metallic tint. They would pass their findings along to Dvurzilny, who would immediately think to himself how these samples had the appearance of soft metal. He would perform brief examinations of them, subjecting them to a variety of acids. None would have any effect. When he arrived at the site for himself, he would find that the entire ground and surrounding vegetation was entirely burned away. What's more, this burnt land was so definitely defined that it appeared to be a different part of land entirely. The snow surrounding the scorched section was still thickened in place, for example. Careful investigation of the ruined land would uncover around 30 strange droplets of a dark color and unknown origin. Most of these were less than 2 millimeters, however several were as large as 5 millimeters. When analyzed, they were found to contain compounds of nickel, chromium, and aluminum. Furthermore, only a diamond blade saw could penetrate their exterior. They would further discover that the metals were amorphous. This would suggest their origin was likely a laboratory setting and not naturally occurring.
So, doesn't rule out a meteorite there though, does it? So we just carry on. Nickel's very common.
It's, from what the witnesses described, it's travelling far too slow for a meteorite.
Like the Kicksburg UFO, huh? So we move down a bit. Have you got any other pictures for this one? Or was this page only got the only ones that's available?
Just keep going.
Futuristic inner treads and structures of intelligent design. Upon further and more detailed study, the droplets would reveal some outstanding, almost futuristic properties. For example, tiny threads were found to be made of inner fibers which had a plait-like appearance. Furthermore, intertwined within these already complex fibers were thin gold wires. Further still, the overall gold content would boast over 1,000 grams per ton. When we consider that our own industrial use of gold requires only 4 grams per ton, it is easy to understand just how futuristic and strong this material is. Around these super gold lines were also quartz crystal cords. Even stranger, and perhaps in a similar way to some of the bizarre theories scientists are working with today that suggest reality doesn't actually exist unless we view it, when investigators would straighten these lines out to view their structure further, they would jump from view and disappear. Not only that, but once straightened out like this, they could no longer be found. Alexei Kalaikov, a carbon expert at the Far Eastern branch of Russian Academy of Sciences, would state that some of these strange samples appeared to be glass carbon. However, how they came into being would be impossible to say. Their structures did, though, suggest a very purposeful design, which would require super high temperatures for their creation. In short, they would appear to be of intelligent creation. The short video below goes over the basics of the incident. It also looks specifically at some of the fragments recovered.
Is that a safe video?
Leave that up to you.
What channel does it go to? YouTube. Okay.
I mean, already we've got something that's unusual.
Oh, what's playing?
An alien craft hurtling through space at 1,000,000 miles an hour crashes to Earth. Debris is scattered over a desolate landscape. The military moves in.
Oh, guess what?
Oh,
it's a bad one. Unsolved mysteries,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, can't do that.
Can't do that one. Copyright ruins it again for us, unfortunately. Oh well.
There's no need.
Yeah, no need for it. We've probably already got a strike for a few seconds there. I mean, a copyright claim. Crash site. You should be able to play 10 minutes of any episode as far as I'm concerned. But it's not written in law, you see. If it was some other thing, so a Hollywood thing, it would be alright, wouldn't it?
Crash site remains active for years after further investigation at the site itself would also declare some interesting findings. For example, the burnt tree stump was particularly intriguing. One side of it had a bizarre shiny appearance as if it had some kind of seal on it. Testing would reveal it was in fact melted. When wood burns, pure carbon is the result. And for carbon to melt as the tree's appearance suggested had happened, the temperature would have to be in excess of 3,000 degrees Celsius. This polished appearance would surface in other places around the crash site also. According to locals and the persistent research of investigators, the area would remain active for several years following the incident. No vegetation would grow within the area and no animals, insects, or birds would venture there. The interested locals or over-enthusiastic researchers who did take the risk of a visit would often become very sick in the days following. Furthermore, electronic equipment would rarely work within this bizarre zone. That something came down on the mountainside that cold January night is not in doubt. What it was, and why there was no wreckage of any kind aside from the fragments already mentioned, however, is the real question. Viewers only would theorize that the craft, which indeed had crashed, was not engulfed by the flames. Remember, the flames around the craft may only have burned for several minutes. The burning, which remember was of an electrical nature according to most witnesses, was repairs being carried out by whatever crew were on board. This, according to the theory, explains the extremely high temperatures in only very specific places. This would also explain the lack of wreckage. At some point in the hours following the crash, the object discreetly continued on its way.
So, you want to add anything there, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that something came down there. there's no doubt it left trace evidence behind. And it's not like a lot of cases where you're not quite sure whether anything happened at all. It's so old. It's 1986. So, there's a fairly good case here. And people have still got their hands on that material, but okay.
Well, it doesn't look
Move
like Dale's asking if it's fiber optics, or I think it is. Yep, small print.
It sounds something a bit more complex than fiber optics, to be honest.
Well, if that's the picture of it up the top there, it doesn't look like. Well, it's black and white, so you can't tell too much from it. If it was in colour photograph, we might better see more. But I suppose this material here is the fiber stuff, right? It kind of looks like it's a matrix. So I don't know. It doesn't look like fiber optics here. It looks like it might be a skin of the craft itself, some sort of thing. But why would it be full of holes like that? Okay, it's obviously got burnt.
Yeah, it's burnt out.
But they were talking about small fibres. So were they talking about small fibres inside these little rocks? Or nickel rocks, or whatever they are. Now, there are fibres that do grow in meteorites as well, like crystals, you see. So, what's the next bit here? That was after the video, wasn't it? Yes. I'm not sure if we can actually skim, see what images they've got on the thing here. What does that show anyway? I can't recognise it. I don't think it's Unsolved Mysteries. It's some other one, Insight. So it's on the coast here. We've got some Russian. A shame we can't play it though. What's that there? He's got up something coming down in the sky. Was that the UFO there? Or was that just the sun? Guess we won't know. I don't know what that is. Looks like a matchbox, so this must be some material, I'd say. Pretty bad pictures though, eh? But old technology. Here's some fibres, I guess. Looking like the same.
Well, they've been thoroughly tested, and they were deemed to be highly unusual.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. We've got some microscopic images. So that looks like the edge of the matrix here. So look, there's a fibre coming off the end here. Kind of strange. Looks like it's a fibre with some coating on it, doesn't it? That kind of almost looks like cotton with some sort of hard outer. Well, it does sort of give us some idea, at least. I recognise this guy from something. Is that Knapp or not?
Yeah, it's George Knapp.
Yeah, younger days. What else we got coming up here? What's that meant to be off? The matrix again. Matrix of material. So there's individual atoms, is it? No, it can't be atoms. It's got to be molecules. Photograph, what does it say there at the bottom there? Magnification. Of height 611. Might be one of their palettes, maybe. Who knows? Without playing it properly. So people could probably play that. So they're the eyewitnesses, I guess. What's that one there? Did we get that one before? No. So that looks like the rocks, the nickel rocks amplified there. What else we got? George Knapp. something there. Can't quite get it. There, I think. No. It's not going to where I'm clicking. There, here we go. Oh, we've already seen that. They're probably claiming that's copyright, even though that's a picture up the top here. Oh, we'll see how we go. So we go down to under this picture here. Let's see what else they got to say. I don't think I've actually heard much on this case. I've heard it. Oh, it's selected everything, hasn't it? I've heard of the Russian Roswell, as they call it, as another name.
Yeah, but Tunguska often gets mixed up with that as well, Paul.
Probably, yeah. Although that's not really a UFO, according to most. Okay, let's see. Can we select it properly this time? No. It speeds up when I scroll down. Oh, that'll do for now. Come on. Having little glitches here for some reason. Oh. I think I picked American.
Geological break, attracting space visitors. Just over a week after the apparent crash. On the evening of the 8th of February at a little after 8 p.m. came reports of sightings of two yellowish spheres. They would approach the small mining village and would appear to circle over the crash site several times. They then simply turned back in the direction they arrived from and disappeared. An even stranger incident occurred late in the evening of 28th of November, 1987, when just before 11:30 p.m. over 30 objects appeared in the sky. Witnesses, of which there were again numerous, would recall how the objects seemingly appeared out of nowhere. The objects would appear to disperse to different areas of the village, seemingly surveying them. 5 of them would perform this surveillance over the crash site. Each of the objects glowed and moved absolutely silently through the freezing night sky. Townsfolk initially thought the objects were military jets. However, their lack of noise combined with the interference on television and radio receptions would make them reassess their initial thoughts.
Okay, so we actually only select the American voice here, but so that can't be meteorites because they're talking about 3 objects that sort of change directions, spread around the village, right? Normally meteorites come down roughly in the same order.
Most people describe the so-called crash landing as a dull thud, so it sounds more like it landed than it crashed. And then, of course, all that activity that was going on with the fire, which is described as an electrical fire, could have been some kind of repair. Now, whether it was alien or whether it was something black budget, that's what we're trying to establish.
And what did the Russian skeptics say? Is there any of that at the end?
Yeah.
There is? Okay. So we won't talk about it now then. So Dell's asking, saying that any image magnified kind of looks like what we were looking at. That's probably very true. You could probably pick out stone at the garden. Although I don't think we'd have the same structure. You remember Chris Cogswell, the nano scientist? Well, he said to tell whether it's manufactured on Earth or not will be on the structure of the crystals or the atom arrangement in the material, whether it's natural from a meteorite versus made by aliens or man. So, yeah, I'll see what's read up next bit.
Is there something special about this area of Russia? Viewers Ilny would theorize that perhaps these apparent space visitors use such geological fissures on the planet as a form of orientation. The area of the crash, for example, resides over a substantial geological break. Not only this, powerful electromagnet and gravitational energy is present there. As much as these areas may be used for guidance, they may also cause crashes of these objects. Viewer Zilny claims to have pinpointed several areas of interest within Russia. These areas contain similar geological breaks and have more than their fair share of UFO sightings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's worth thinking about that a little bit more. So, I mean, what I seen was over a fault line.
Yeah. So what's this video here?
Well, you can't play it, can you, Paul?
Is it the same show that's been cut up? I'm not too sure.
I don't know, mate.
Well, let's just cue it up and pause it. Or mute it. So what does it look like? Doesn't look like a TV show, that one. Is there any music?
Hello YouTube. Today I'll tell you about one of the most unusual cases.
Okay, so let's look at another YouTuber video, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, there's the mountain that we're talking about, and there's the city or village or what you want to call it.
Yeah, well, that's worth looking at, you see.
Yeah.
So,
if it landed
let's just say it was under intelligent control, which it seems it was. It's a pretty good place to put it down and carry out repairs.
Over the top of a mountain.
You don't want to do it in the middle of the village, do you?
Oh, here's another angle here. I suppose it kind of looks flat at the top here, though. Yes, so it'd be a steep climb for people to get up there.
Yep.
I'm not sure what else he's got here. Let's just keep on going. Landmark. It's not scrolling for some reason. What's that there? Looking down from the mountain, I guess. Was that the spot that it apparently landed? It's a fair way up there, though. And there's a picture that someone's drawn of the object. And there's the village here that we were looking at in the photograph. So it lands somewhere near the top of the mountain, obviously. What else we got? Here's a fragment. Looks a bit different to what we were looking at before, though. That looks more metallic, doesn't it? And there's the fragments we saw on the black and white. Can we get a zoom up of that? 5mm, they said, didn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Don't know. It's kind of weird if it comes from the object. What else we got here? Kind of looks like a musket ball, doesn't it? Or something that would come from a meteorite. Rather than a material, you know, like you'd get off a plane that dropped it off. What the hell is this? Melted rock. What's he saying there, I wonder? I might just play a little bit.
Revealed very unusual properties. One of the tiny nets contained torn and very thin, 17 micrometers, threads. Each of the threads consisted of even thinner fibers tied up in plates. Intertwined within the fibers were very thin gold wires.
Okay, so where's the picture of that? Has he got it here? So we've got some pictures. So there's a bullet UFO again at the bottom here.
Yeah, also an exhaust. And then you got the triangle, so I don't know what to make out of that.
And we got a cylinder as well. It's just maybe all the drawings that people drew around the country, of the city.
Discovered that the surface of the net contained quartz threads of 17 microns in thickness.
Anyone can read Russian, that probably tells us down the bottom there. We'll just carry on. So we've seen those pictures before. What's this one here, though? a less magnified thing of the ball, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. Now he's got a load of pictures here, hasn't he? Not sure what we're looking at here though. It's in Russian. What's that say? It's in Russian. Looks like it's something that they put at the top of the mountain, probably. Who's he?
Anti-aircraft units located in the area. Shersnyov's particular flight that evening was commanded by Nikolai Ledunov. There were cargo on board but no passengers. The pilots were flying from Vladivostok through Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky at 12:46 p.m. with perfect visibility, flying at an altitude of 4,700, 4,800 meters. As they
so we'll probably get that in the report, I suppose, further down. Yeah, we've got some maps, and here's some material.
The only thing I don't understand at this stage is why the Russians were sharing all this with the Western world, you know? If they had, you got to have a skeptical mind now. Why were they sharing?
Dale was saying those pictures of the UFO were the same craft at different angles, but
yeah. I'm sure he's right there.
It's possible people saw it slightly different. So yeah, what are the sets?
That looks like slag to me, or molten.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It looks like something that's heated up. But if it's got special properties, though.
To 3,500 meters from the ground, it was flying in the area northeast of the town. Suddenly, the object sharply.
Okay, he's repeating what we've already said. What have we got here? Not the best of pictures. No caption. Looks like people looking for stuff on the ground. But if it landed, Rob, why would it have all that debris on the ground? Or why would they leave it behind? So we've got some artists painting off the thing coming down.
Yeah, it's a good question.
See, someone's drawing that as a bullet, sort of, coming down.
You know, let's just say it was alien. You know, we're only thinking in our way of thinking, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a bit hard to know.
Within our narrow perimeters, maybe they just don't care what left behind.
But that looks like something that's coming down from outer space that's burning up, or
but that's not what the witnesses described at all.
Well, obviously this is something someone's drawn, so it might be one of the witnesses.
No, not from what I've seen.
Okay, who's he? The scientist. Where's the bottom of it gone?
Vertically. Such apparatuses, which are invisible on radar screens, are manufactured from non-metallic materials. In such cases, the main construction material is carbon fiber reinforced polymer.
So he's not actually reading what's on the picture there, unfortunately. So, who are they? Are they Russian UFO investigators? Who knows?
So, yeah.
Yeah, there must be. But he won't be talking about them. He seems to be not syncing up what he's saying with the pictures, unfortunately. Oh, well, there's some interesting pictures here anyway. So, what have we got? Oh, right. That was all of it anyway. There was no more on that page. Just disclaimer and copyright. So, the objects glowed and moved absolutely silently through the freezing night sky. So that was talking about 30 objects. So, yeah. It's funny how the pictures...
So no noise.
Sorry?
There was no sound.
No. And but do you get sound of a meteorite or space junk coming down? I don't think you do. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, you well, depends on the distance you are away from it. You kind of hear that vacuum of a sound.
You normally get that sonic boom that blows out the windows for a meteorite coming down or a fireball, because the gases explode, right? So that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, but this thing appeared to hover for a while, Paul, and that completely rules out meteorite.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I said that didn't happen because the windows didn't get blown out. But we need another link, I suppose, because that one's finished with.
Okay.
What's Dell saying meantime? Looks like my leftovers. Those images could be different angles of craft, yep. Musket balls, that's what I was thinking. My point exactly, Rob. Great place to live. Yep, I suppose some people haven't got a choice where they live. We got a link, yep. I did click on it, but it's not popping up the thing. Okay, here it goes. I don't know what Google's done to it, but it's not as good anymore, the side chat. Oops, what we got here?
Yeah, okay. This is the best debunk for it I can find. I don't particularly think it's that good.
Or was it talk about Area 51?
Yeah, go down, Paul. Don't wish signing up.
Well, I was just wondering if you had the right link there.
Yeah, right link, okay. So, this guy's saying there's a blackbird that was shot down.
Right. Well, that would give the triangle shape that we saw in the drawing. I think.
Well, what you didn't need to do is just click on the map first.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's a blackbird? Because I didn't see a picture of a blackbird, so you probably need to Google one.
No, what are you doing?
So we can see what a blackbird looks like.
It's a stealth plane.
Yeah, but we just want to bring up an image of one. There wasn't one on that page.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's fair enough.
Images. We want to see if it looks like the drawings, and it does sort of look like the drawings, doesn't it? One of them, anyway. And it does look like a bullet shape if you don't look at the rear end. So that's what we're looking at. Blackbird for possible debunk. So we can close that one down now. So you want me to click on the map?
Yeah, just so people can see it.
Oh yeah. Looks like we may have got a new sub here. 777 Dix, welcome. Okay, so you should have got a dancing alien on the screen. So what have we got here? Something we can't read.
You did.
Air Force Base, what's that say there? Former home of the SR-71. So it's on a little island down the bottom there. Habu, is it? And so obviously the Japanese must be working with the Americans to allow them to have an airstrip down that close to Russia and China. Height
well,
of 6'1".
it had been since 1945, Paul.
Yeah. So this probably needs updating there too. So what else we got? I thought it had some more pictures here. Oh right, it has. What's that?
Yeah, that's the materials. But you kind of missed the point there. You missed the flight path.
I didn't see a flight path on it. It's quite a lot of materials there. Black 71 has quite a lot, doesn't it? Molten salt reactors. And These are elements you find in the mountains. Is that what they're saying there? All these are exist in the mountain.
Yeah, and what was found at the site.
And blackbird has almost all the elements, and the molten salt has very few. But yeah, you said there was.
But it makes up for the others. You see, that's what that's trying to tell you.
Okay, where's the flight path? Don't see a flight path there. Oh, here we go. Click down here. And what's that picture of there? What's it say there? Main nuclear power plant, eh? For turbo rocket.
Turbo ground rocket, yeah.
Is that the sort of thing that Stanton Friedman said he was working on, nuclear rockets? Well, actually, he was going to work on a nuclear rocket at the end there, and he got cancelled. Are they talking about nuclear warhead there, or nuclear engine? Nuclear power, it says here, power plants. So it must be what Stanton was trying to work on with the government in America, and they cancelled it. Obviously, it was too dangerous, right? That would probably kill the people using them as much as it would the enemy, right? So what else we got here? Very small. I don't know if I can scale it up. I think that's the maximum. And it won't go any further. It's kind of stupid. I don't think I could read that. Top secret, is it?
So I can't see anything like that landing with a Delford on the mountaintop, being prepared, and then taking off, and then leaving trace evidence behind.
It needs a runway. Where was the flight path? Was it on this one, or was it further down?
Well, no, it's basically pointing to the crash, and it's just showing you that it's in close proximity.
Yeah, it's nowhere near the location, but it doesn't mean that it didn't fly.
Well, yeah, it is. It is. It's giving you an arrow there to.
Yeah, that's where it's based, but it still could fly that direction, do a U-E and come back around. You see. You see what I mean? So
that's what it's saying. Yeah.
If it launches off here, it can go straight to there and then go around, and then crash before coming back to home base. Even if you do a triangle, but yeah, it doesn't fit the story. So do we need to read out any of this here? Ben Rich account?
Not particularly, no.
Whose debunk was that? Was it the government's debunk for the Blackbird, or what? Because they would know if it was their plane that crashed. What's this popping up? Timeline. What's the timeline about Blackbird? Soviet deploy. CIA agent hands Ben Rich of Lockheed a stealth panel. So we heard about this with To the Stars, that Lockheed Martin and Bigelow got a lot of materials from crashes handed to them to analyze. So Ben Rich is saying they got access to the stealth panel, not necessarily from that crash site though. It doesn't actually say that there though, does it? Christmas gift from the KGB. Why would the KGB give it to Lockheed Martin? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Claims it was from a first D-21 tagboard mission. So that nuclear rocket thing we were looking at. We'll just get it to read out anyway. Might be worth it. February. What's happening?
February 1986, a CIA agent hands Ben Rich of Lockheed a stealth panel, received as a Christmas gift from a KGB friend. It came from a crashed Skunk Works plane in Siberia. Rich claims it was from the first D-21 tagboard mission that was lost over China and landing in Siberia in November of 1969. Rich goes on to tease, saying, "The panel looked like it had been made yesterday, and that the Soviets mistook the panel for our current stealth technology. The rare earth metals found at the Height 611 site are found in molten salt reactors and used in stealth planes." Rich and Janos 270, the 26th of April 1986, Kandal terrorist attack occurs. Kandal provided power to the Russian woodpecker, the Soviet Union's over-the-horizon radar and direct energy weapon. Early 1987, first sightings of Aurora. The 9th of April 1989, Air Force retires the Senior 71, claiming among other things that Blackbird was vulnerable to a Soviet SAM-5 missile. The 21st of April 1989, SR-71A 61-7974/2025 is lost over the South China Sea and is the last loss of any Blackbird. Pilot Major Daniel E. House said the left engine blew up and shrapnel from it hit the right side hydraulic lines, causing a loss of flight controls. House and so capped. Blair L. Misc ejected and came down safely in the ocean. They had been able to broadcast their position before abandoning the Blackbird, and rescue forces were immediately on the way. However, the crew was rescued by native fishermen. https://www.sr-71.org/blackbird/losses.php. May 1989, first interviews with Bob Lazar are aired on Colors TV. The 10th of August 1989, an unsubstantiated UFO case comes to us from Russia. According to the reports, not far from the city of Landny at 1 a.m. on August the 10th, 1989, Soviet military radar units picked up an unidentified flying object. An attempt was made to contact the craft, without success. The UFO was classified as hostile. Russian defenses were put on alert, and MiG-25 seconds were put in the air to find and identify the UFO. Soviet military radar units picked up an unidentified flying object.
Okay, so it talked about another UFO case.
It's called bullshit, Paul. There ain't no way. What the witnesses were describing has got nothing to do with that. That sounds like some kind of crazy cover story.
Well, that's 1989. They're talking about that last one there. Wasn't that the one we covered? Where
I don't know of any stealth aircraft that can, sit and land on a hill, prepare itself and shoot off. And we're talking about something different here.
So, what's next then?
I've left you this.
What?
I've left you
another link? Okay.
Yeah.
Is this about the same case?
Of course it is, yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were moving on to the next one or not. The next case in the list. Found a story about recovered UFO debris. When was that posted? It doesn't say there. 2018.
There's a fairly important conclusion to this now.
So what do you want us to read here?
It's relatively new, that article is in 2018.
Yeah. At least one of the exotic alloys housed at Bigelow Aerospace is from the Height 611.
611,
UFO crash. I was thinking You know that movie, Fahrenheit 4111, UFO crash site, material obtained by George Knapp. This is not classified material as it was reported in Huffington Post. That's not the same stuff that's being passed around from Art Bell, I don't think.
No, but hey, it's in George Knapp's hand, and it's gone to Bigelow. So where do you think it is now?
The question is, where did Knapp get it from?
Knapp went over there, didn't he? As a journalist.
Over to Russia?
Yes.
Siberia, I mean. Alright. So, do we need to read out this? Do we need to read out this?
Not really. I'll tell you who's got it now. In a nutshell. TTSA?
Maybe.
No fact.
3 Soviet academic centers. Well, let's read out that bit anyway. I'll use the American voice for it.
Knapp, pictured below right, was given samples of the debris, including very small perfectly round and glassy spheres, which had also been found at other crash sites. Those materials are being unveiled by the National Atomic Testing Museum. According to the exhibit's description, scientific tests on the UFO materials revealed bizarre behavior. 3 Soviet academic centers and 11 research institutes analyzed the objects from this UFO crash. The distance between atoms is different from ordinary iron. Radar cannot be reflected from the material. Elements in the material may disappear and new ones appear after heating. One piece disappeared completely in front of 4 witnesses.
Well,
the core of the material is composed of a substance with anti-gravitational properties.
Shush. I think it just pausing for some reason. I don't think it got to the end. Maybe it did now. I don't know. Yeah, I was just reading this here. Jim Mars. I don't really like that guy. This material was mentioned in Jim Mars' last book. If true, this is absolutely stunning. So yeah, it sort of fits in the timeline for To the Stars stuff, doesn't it? 2018. This being posted, but doesn't say here about George Knapp.
Yeah, look at the connection. And it's obvious. It's gone to Bigelow.
It was recovered from intelligent controlled
Who bought the
space.
contract out? For ATIP. Bigelow. It's in his hands now.
First country to build a UFO to rule the world. I don't think there's anything else on this page. Rocket launches they're talking about from Bay. I'll just read out that. That guy reckons it might be a rocket launch, which could fit the shape of it, because it was bullet shaped, right?
Oh, bollocks. It's not what the witnesses were describing, Paul. We've got to go off that, you know.
I'm hearing the recovered samples are indeed these fragments from Dalnegorsk, which is right on the ground track of rocket launches from Baikonur, by odd coincidence. A Russian ufologist reports the site appears to be where an old spy balloon crashed during the Cold War and its destruct charges went off to destroy the cameras and film. None of this is confirmed. As far as I can tell, all the disclosure is coming from a private group seeking contributions.
As we're talking about To the Stars here. Read yourself up on the many reports since about the mid-1980s on the mysterious and so-called Black Triangle craft that precisely fit the bill of being alien-like. There was that one that sort of came out the sea next to the Nimitz back in 1991 too. Remember, that guy was locked outside and he saw it, and he was meant to be...
1991?
Yeah, 1991 was the first sighting. of this big triangle coming out the sea. It was talked about on Contact 2019 series on the last episode. It's not the well-known case, but I think I've heard it on this above top secret site before. And the guy went underground. He went to a remote farm, but they still managed to track him down because they managed to get enough clues. They just went door knocking until they found him. But is there anything else here that's worth reading? But that was a black triangle. They said it was sort of like he said it wasn't actually in the sea. It looked like it was half sticking out and half under the sea, but it wasn't actually. The sea wasn't actually surrounding it, lapping up the sides. I think he said that on the show, and it simply took off and shot off, and under a few seconds it disappeared. So whether that's Black Ops technology, it's pretty advanced for 1991. But he was questioned by two suspicious men later why he wasn't listed to be inside the cabin. Obviously they do a roll call and make sure everybody's accounted for. And they questioned him, and he didn't mention what he see. He said he was just locked outside and didn't see anything, so they left him alone. Which is probably a good thing that he did say that, because he may have been kicked overboard or something and never seen again. So if you get two men knocking at your door after you see a UFO sighting, don't say anything, because it might be the wrong thing. So what's he replying to James Oberg? Was there a James Oberg post here, was it? Who's James Oberg? I don't see... Rob really likes James Oberg. He called him certain names. I know, right? However, they appeared to have gotten the material past the vetting of the National Atomic Testing Museum. You would think it's not easy to fool the Smithsonian's. You'd think they submit it to metallurgical experts first. Okay. And they did. The results were so astounding that they became a hot potato. If another lab in the US works on it, they will most likely come to a similar conclusion, and that would mean that they would have to explain it. Bad UFOs. Okay, I did some search and found the possible missing photo of debris from Huff article. Scroll down on the website and you'll see exhibit from the museum. I have never heard of this guy who wrote the blog, but it is an interesting read. Nevertheless, with an open mind, I didn't put up the photo on his website here for copyright courtesy. Oh, that's great. Anyway, here is the original sightings episode. So has he got a link to it? Oh, right up here, I suppose. Open a new tab. So who runs Bad UFOs then? Another skeptic of some sort. Have we got a name who writes it? Looks like it's one page of everything, right? Alright, it's talking about the nuclear rockets. No, I don't know. Here we go. That's what the stars have been putting up, that picture. Yep, Tom DeLonge's got his name on it. Which people are saying is just a piece of slag from mining operation, isn't it? Or something like that. And what is it? Refinery of something. I can't remember what it was now. Was it from steel or something like that? And nickel is mixed in, and they just get rid of it as slag.
Paul, at the end of the day, we won't know what was there until it's been analysed properly.
But that looks
and whether
like
we'll be privy to it or not is another thing.
Well, that picture there didn't look like anything we saw with the black and whites anyway. Nothing like fibers, nothing like the little spheres, right? What's this here?
Sure, but I mean, it's a good case. I mean, I think you're dragging it out now.
Yeah, no, I was just following the link from that, seeing what he was talking about there from the museum, so I guess it might be that chunk of rock, I don't know. The page, obviously the blog scrolls endlessly, and it could be anywhere on that page. But I thought the scientific consensus is that the universe is comprised of the basic elements and nothing else. What's he all about? Big Bang? Metals that disappear into nothing could be...
talking about, you know, the elements are universal.
Room temperature, self panels, helium panels, crystals of liquid metal flows into cracks and micro craters, then solidified due to the electric current. So he's talking about self-healing skins, which they are working on now. I've covered it in previous lives, right? So yes. So we're done with that one there, Roberts. So was there another link? It's still really all interesting though. It's all related, you know, what's going on at the moment to this case in Russia. But that tells us that the Russians must know a lot more than they're telling their people as well. Was there another link?
Yeah, sure. Move on to Kingman now.
Okay, we're on to the next case. I thought that wasn't the next one. The next one was Mexico. Was it? 74.
No, it doesn't matter. We'll do it this way.
I'd rather go in reverse year order though. Are you sure?
Yeah, go on. Kingman had his own 1953.
So let's bring up the location then. Kingman, Arizona, which should be up the road from where
John lives, yeah.
Yeah. Paste. Kingman, Arizona. Must be that one there, I guess. Oh, right next to a mountain there. So, looks like a pretty desolate place, doesn't it? So where's John in this?
So it's desert.
Yeah. Yes, it looks like a hostile place to live, really. Doesn't look too big even there today, does it, really? It's relatively small, really. But it's either side of the mountain here. So, flying, what's that? Flying travel center. So, ground view. High net classification CE2. Observation of an object in close proximity to the witness. Where physical trace impressions, burns are left. Close encounters of the second kind, not the third kind. So where does it begin? Here, full reports. Oh, we got Michael Tshirt listed here.
Yeah, only for the graphics.
Oh, right, is it? I forgot it was him talking about it. Depiction. Oh, right, yes, you're correct.
Depiction of the Kingman UFO. Credit, Michael Tshirt. The case of the Kingman UFO retrieval was later brought to the public attention by Raymond Fowler, a respected UFO researcher, in June 1973. It involved an engineer who took preliminary measurements to assess the momentum of a crashing craft, measurements useful to any reverse engineering efforts. The engineer who brought this story to light was Arthur G. Stansel, previously known by the pseudonym Fritz Werner. Stansel graduated from Ohio University in 1949 and was first employed by Air Material Command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio as a mechanical engineer on testing Air Force aircraft engines. Dr. Eric Wang, who was suspected of leading a reverse engineering team on alien craft, headed the installations division within the Office of Special Studies where Arthur worked. The case of the Kingman UFO retrieval was then brought to the public attention by Raymond Fowler, a respected UFO researcher, in June 1973. It involved an engineer who took preliminary measurements to assess the momentum of a crashing craft, measurements useful to any reverse engineering efforts. The engineer who brought this story to light was Arthur G. Stansel, previously known by the pseudonym Fritz Werner. Stansel graduated from Ohio University in 1949 and was first employed by Air Material Command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio as a mechanical engineer on testing Air Force aircraft engines. Dr. Eric Wang, who was suspected of leading a reverse engineering team on alien craft, headed the installations division within the Office of Special Studies where Arthur worked. Stansel signed a legal affidavit vouching to the honesty of his testimony, was released by Ray Fowler in UFO magazine, April 1976. Stansel told that he was loaned out to the Atomic Energy Commission and was designated as a project engineer on some atomic bomb tests referred to as Operation Upshot Knothole. The location of these tests was at Frenchman's Flats at the southern end of the Nevada test site. The test director was a Dr. Ed Dole.
Aye.
Yeah, so the whole case kind of at this stage revolves around Raymond Fowler was the chief investigator. He was the first one, and then of course people came in later, like Leonard Springfield, but Stansel is the main witness to this case, and he had the pseudonym that he used originally, which if you can find it at the top there. Top of the text bar. Fritz Werner.
Yep. Which stands
so that's
for.
Important to know that. You're gonna lose the thread of the conversation otherwise.
Right. And what do we read out next then? He worked for Raytheon. They're the ones that work on the pods on the fighter jets with the thermal imaging. 70s. So there wasn't anything else to this, was there? What's that say there?
Well, there's lots more to it.
Researcher adds. Also class EBEs. So where do we read from? Okay, I suppose we can read from there.
Well, you missed a lot there, to be honest.
Do we need to really cover that though? Additional information, it's quite long. Oh well, we'll just read it then. Let's go on a bit. I will read down to there.
Yeah.
It may run out.
Stansel worked for Raytheon in Sudbury, Massachusetts in the early 70s on avionics systems. It is unknown as to whether he had further involvement with alien technology, especially since it is likely that he worked for Dr. Wang at some point. Dr. Wang was an Austrian-born graduate of the Vienna Technical Institute, and close associate of Victor Schauberger, who had, according to the legend, developed a concept of a flying disc and allegedly worked on the German flying disc program as early as 1941. Wang taught structural and metallurgical engineering at the University of Cincinnati from 1943 to 1952. Dr. Wang supposedly examined some of the recovered crashed discs and compared them to the vehicles tested in the alleged German V-7 program, but found the retrieved craft to be different in nature. In 1949, he became director of the Department of Special Studies at Wright-Patterson, where he worked long hours in cooperation with scientists from the Office of Naval Research and with Dr. Vannevar Bush and others from the Research and Development Board. Dr. Wang relocated his research from Wright-Patterson to Kirtland in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Dr. Wang passed away on December 4, 1960. Curiously, Leonard Stringfield, who reopened the case for crash retrievals, mentioned testimony he had gotten from a naval intelligence officer who had seen bodies from a crash that occurred in the Arizona desert in 1953. He viewed the bodies at Wright-Patterson when the crates arrived at night aboard a DC-7. There were 5 crates in all, 3 of which contained little humanoids about 4 feet tall. Their heads were hairless and disproportionately large, with skin that looked brown under the hangar lights. They were wearing tight-fitting dark suits. It has been suggested by some researchers that these bodies could have come from the crash mentioned by Stansel. Engineer Below House claims there was a crash of an E-Benz aerial craft near Kingman, Arizona in 1953, and that 4 entities survived. That would have been 6 years after the more famous Roswell crashes and retrievals of interplanetary craft of unknown origin. In Kingman, according to House, 2 disabled E-Benz and 2 more that were in good condition were retrieved by U.S. government units specially trained for retrieval missions. The 2 non-humans in good condition were allowed to re-enter the craft, and the disabled entities were taken to an unspecified medical facility. He also states that a recovery crew that entered the craft to inspect it came down with a mysterious sickness. The craft was then loaded aboard a trailer and hauled off to the Nevada test site north of Las Vegas. Some implied that E-Benz also were a class of EBs with certain distinct physical characteristics and were said to be working with our military scientists and engineers on various projects. According to BJ, no language interface with the EB existed in 1953, so a series of symbols were shown to test his reactions. Some symbols looked like letters and others were geometric shapes. The first symbol the EB pointed to looked like a J. The other was an inertial bar that looked like a rod. So, humans called the EB J-Rod. Comments, and researcher adds, there were only 2 seats in the craft. As always, there are more questions, but no one to question about these events unless someone else who was a participant steps forward with their testimony. Indeed, Stansel was a participant and did step forward with an affidavit. The Vietnam commander who told the story in 1964 is an interesting lead. Of course, if additional witness stepped forward, the case would appear even more serious. There are indications of another Arizona UFO crash in 1953, April the 18th, from which the 3 bodies mentioned in Springfield's story might have come. A researcher adds,
where did we get to? So, J-Rod.
Yeah, you got to the bottom of that, yeah. To be honest, I mean, I don't know if there's anything further down there to add, but there's the...
Well, there's
yeah, sure, you can read that out if you like.
Yeah. As soon as I hear J-Rod, it's big ding, 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 bells going off.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I never liked this case from the outset, you know. It's kind of a... But anyway.
Strange as it seems.
Strange as it seems, it was during the 1950s that various aircraft companies started research projects on the control of gravity and electrogravitational propulsion. It is possible that these projects constituted some of the first reverse engineering projects on extraterrestrial propulsion systems.
Yes, hearsay though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And Michael Tshirt is convinced of this case is, you know, an actual reality. Anyway, I've left you a link there to carry on with this case because we've got to look at it, unfortunately.
Below is the account of alleged flying saucer crash. So what's this bit down here then? Fritz solemnly swear the object was constructed of unfamiliar material. Do we need to read out that bit?
Have you forgotten now? Fitz weren't at his standstill.
Right. It's using aliases.
Yes.
I see, that's the letter that was sent in. Signature. So straight away that means it's hoaxy, right? Made up. Description there. MyCAD, what's that saying? MyCap, I mean. My attempts. Credible story had put me in contact with AEC, Stanford Research Institute, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, former Project Bluebook personnel, and a number of persons within the military industrial complex. Although no additional witnesses could be found, which is very suspicious, isn't it?
Highly suspicious.
Someone might have seen a streak in the sky from another state, even, you know. Peripheral names, positions, test dates. So, what year was this? 73. So what was the population of Kingsman?
No. It was 1953.
I thought I read 73 on the letter.
No, the incident happened in 1953, Paul.
Kingsman, Arizona. Uh, 1953. Population. I wonder if it will tell us. 30,000. That's in 2019. That's not too many, is it? But we want 1953. Stupid thing. 1953 Kingman was used to detain those men accused of practicing polygamy. 2010 it had 28,000 people. Let's see. I wonder if it's got further back. Lots of fine print here. Population. Well, Google wasn't really helpful here, was it? This is on the chart. Nope. 30,000 currently, but we want to know when it was 53.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no idea why you're going off on this tangent. It's not really important part of the case, is it?
It is, because I was trying to find out how many people were looking downwards on that day not to have seen it, you know, another eyewitness account. That's what I was trying to find out. Which is pretty useless. So let's see, if it's 2,000 a year growing, if you roll it back 50 years, the population could be very small. It could be like a couple of thousand people there. Still, you'd expect one of those thousands of people to have seen it. So there's another link. Oh, there's some other stuff down here. What's this about here? Before we lose it. It still goes on a bit about Fritz. Werner's story might be. So all that's about the story still, which we don't trust because we know that wasn't his real name. UFO Digest. Roger Misc. He's a MUFON guy, isn't he? Harry Drew discloses two new...
Yeah, look,
Princeton
Paul,
UFO.
I've got... Yeah, is that the tab I've given you now, yeah?
It should be, yeah. Where do you want me to go with it?
Yeah, well, he's a professional historian, and he started off quite well with this. Go on. From the top, it's not a big article.
Okay. Well, Roger Misc is the one that appears on Open Minds a fair bit, as an investigator. And it says he's part of MUFON and all that. So it says down here too.
More than 6 years of intensive research has uncovered 2 pristine UFO crash sites in Kingman, that occurred over a 4-day period in May 1953, according to UFO researcher Harry Drew, who made the announcement Sunday, August the 5th, 2012, at the Mutual UFO Network MUFON annual symposium in Cincinnati. This was the second anticipated blockbuster UFO discovery MUFON promised at its 3-day conference. On Friday, August the 3rd, Executive Director David MacDonald announced that 60 volumes of meticulous UFO research over 30 years by the late ufologist Leonard H. Stringfield were donated to MUFON. According to Drew's website, the researcher uncovered evidence the Kingman UFO crash story was the blending of 2 separate UFO crashes that happened 4 days apart near Kingman, in May 1953.
So, I kind of remember that Bill Gray was talking about...
He's come up with something that's a lot different. And while he was doing his research, he claimed that the locals had only talked to him because he was from Kingman. They kept all the cards close to the chest. I found an interview with him on the Matt and Willis show, and he's saying he started out well, but he started saying some very extraordinary things, like the firefight between UFOs and the US Air Force before Roswell, but yet he offered no evidence to back up what he was saying,
Who are you talking about, Roger Misc or Leonard?
No. Harry Drew, the guy.
Right. Harry Drew. Right. I remember Earl Grey saying that they received a load of stuff at California headquarters from Leonard Springfield. It's one of his go-to guys that he likes next to Jack Valet. But yeah.
Yeah, well, he's long dead now. I think he passed away in the 90s,
Yeah, I don't think they've been scanned and put on the internet. I think they were in the process of getting them organised and scanned in, which would make sense because we've got so many fires in California at the moment that MUFON, with all those 60 pages of volumes, would just simply vanish, wouldn't it, in the fire? It would be a shame if no one's digitised it. That's why you can't keep everything to yourself. You've got to share it so it's out there as copies. But what else was there? A variety of research methods employed. So there's a little bit more here to read. Oh, quite a bit actually.
Yeah, not much, Paul.
Well, there's a bit to select there.
A variety of research methods were employed. The exploitation of textual documents, reports, maps, early and contemporary interviews, plus grueling field trips across rocky buttes and barren deserts led to pristine UFO crash sites and the discovery of physical evidence left by the military. Reached by telephone from the symposium Sunday night, MUFON Pennsylvania State Director John Venter said Drew spoke for about 2 hours. While the original research came from Arthur Stansel, Venter said Drew was able to find that it was 2 crashes and not 1. The first one came down about 50 feet off of Route 129 just west of Route 93. At that site, Drew said he was digging around and he found radiation in the ground, about 5 times higher at that site. A little bit away within walking distance he found buried army relics like cans and plates and different things like that, and he was able to trace one of the cans to that year 1953 with a lead seal on the can. It proves that the army had some sort of operation there because they buried their stuff there. The second craft site was described. Witnesses say there were 4 bodies, but they were human bodies or human looking. They looked just like us. The damaged craft and 2 bodies, he said, were taken to Groom Lake, and the other 2 bodies were taken to Nellis Air Force Base. He described the crafts themselves. The craft was seamless, but had some kind of seam in the middle like a clamshell, Venter said. More evidence will be released. But he says there is evidence with the scar mark on top of the mountain, a depression in the ground, and then the cans and radiation in the ground.
Oh, we've run out of speaker. We got a message. Pay. Unfortunately, we have to go to the American one. So where do we get to here? Draft was seamless, so we can go from there, I guess. That must be extremely rare to have 2 UFO crashes come down in 1953 in the same area. Kind of strange. A bit highly suspicious straight away there. What the odds of phenomenon for one place to get 2 crashes in the same time period? Unless they were shot down, right? So
The craft was seamless, but had some kind of seam in the middle like a clamshell, Venter said. More evidence will be released. But he says there is evidence with the scar mark on top of the mountain, a depression in the ground, and then the cans and radiation in the ground. There is some witness testimony that includes an old rancher who saw it come down. Venter summed up the findings. Drew presented the evidence with no real firm proof, Venter said. But it wasn't a Gerald de Rivera moment either. Based on the older stories of the Kingman crash, he believes he found the actual site, but not a complete set of evidence to prove it. His evidence is interesting, but circumstantial. Kingman is a city and the county seat of Mohave County, AZ, population 28,068.
So we just confirmed it on the
So
Wikipedia.
it's all in the article. You had no need to go off looking for the population, you see. There you go. You know,
Yeah.
Venture has
Hang on.
just
That was,
said that.
let's take it from the Wikipedia. That's not 1953 stats, though. That's what we just found out. So there was a reason to go looking. That's incorrect. There wasn't that many people in 1953. That's what we found out. But it doesn't matter. It's all they could find from the Wikipedia, right? So we got another link to read out.
Yeah.
Come on. I did click it. Harry Drew. I thought we already looked at that one.
No, mate. It's coming.
Okay, Roger Mars. I thought we read that bit out, but maybe it's not.
No.
Oh yes, we have. We've been there before.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, we read all that out, didn't we?
Yeah, Paul. The last link, please.
Yeah, I thought that's what we got. The
last link, Paul.
I thought that's what I got.
No, have a look again.
Yeah, I think I got it, right? I'll just paste it. Seems to be taking longer. Kingman UFO crash. Is that the one you want? A different perspective, Randall?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to read it from the beginning or what? He's normally quite long, this guy. It's not too bad though.
Nah, it's not too long, you know. And it just about sums this case up.
It's a difficult one to select though. Oh, I'll see how that goes.
Not long ago someone asked about the Kingman, Arizona crash of May 1953. I hesitated answering the query simply because my new book, Crash, When UFOs Fall from the Sky, was about to be published and the answer could be found there. And yes, that was a shameless plug. Most people know that this story has been circulating from the 70s when Ray Fowler published the information he had an official UFO. Most of the story then came from Arthur Stansell, whom Fowler had called Fritz Werner in the article in order to protect Stansell's identity. Stansell said that he had been involved in a top-secret, preliminary survey of a wrecked UFO somewhere in the desert around Kingman. Stansell's credentials seemed good and there was limited documentation, but nothing solid. Besides, Stansell had been caught telling multiple versions of the tale and claimed that when he had been drinking he tended to embellish stories. That certainly didn't bode well for the tale. In the intervening years there have been some others who talked of the crash, and I'll let you all look that information up in Crash. What I want to talk about is the Judy Wolcott story that suggested to me that there might be something important here. Wolcott said that her husband, a professional military officer, was on duty at the airbase control tower somewhere around the Kingman area. They had been tracking something on radar when it lost altitude, seemed to disappear, and then, in the distance, there was a bright flash of white light. So, okay, something crashed. Military police, according to Wolcott, began talking about something being down and they drove out in the general direction of the flash. They found a dome disk stuck in the ground. Wolcott had gotten these details from a letter that her husband had sent her from Vietnam. He indicated that he knew more, but he didn't want to write it down. Yes, it seems odd that he would send such a letter from Vietnam, but then guys in a combat environment do some strange things.
Yeah, I think that's what we got to.
Yeah.
So that sounds like it might be more credible now, right?
No, I don't think it is.
While the letter would be an important document, it certainly wouldn't prove the crash real. Unfortunately, the letter was lost and we only have Wolcott's memory of it. But that's not the worst part. In today's world there are all sorts of databases available and there is one that lists every American soldier who died during the Vietnam War, including those non-combat related deaths. The only Wolcott listed is a PFC, Randall Wolcott, who was born in 1948 and died in Vietnam before his 20th birthday. He wasn't married. But I have learned that Judy Wolcott had been married a number of times and her UFO spotting husband's name might not have been Wolcott. In her obituary, she was Judith M. Wolcott, Miller, Finkel. New searches of the databases have failed to produce any corroboration for her story, and that suggests this tale is not accurate. So, where does that leave us? Well, Stansell provided a copy of his desk calendar that shows him on some unidentified assignment on May 21, 1953, but that doesn't really tell us much and doesn't really confirm his tale. There are a couple of other witnesses, but their stories are dubious and the dates don't track, though they both mention Kingman. The Wolcott story has imploded, which means that it simply is not reliable, given the history there. If she had been able to produce the letter, then that would have been something. But she lost it.
Is it finished? Alright, just one more check.
Other attempts at verification have failed. Maybe we should make another attempt to verify something, but the odds are stacked against us. We have no yearbook like Walter Haut supplied us for Roswell that held hundreds of potential witnesses. We have no newspaper stories like those for Kecksburg and Shag Harbor that helped pin down the tales and name the witnesses. We have no real corroboration. Just a couple of vague stories. It seems the thread is about played out on Kingman. But that doesn't mean the story will die. Someone will come up with something to revitalize the Kingman crash, And that might be the most frightening aspect of all.
I'm pretty sure Dolan will think of something. A new leaker document.
I don't think so. You know, I think everyone knows this case is black bin. It's not even grey bin. We don't even know if an event happened. I think it's time to put that one to bed.
Yeah. There's another case called the Aztec UFO crash too that was also
that was
fake.
1948, New Mexico. Yeah.
Which is next door to this location.
Well, no, it's not, Paul. New Mexico and Arizona a little bit apart. Yeah.
Have we got it on the map here?
Oh, come on, man! Don't waste time on maps now.
Arizona. New Mexico. It's right next door, see. But
yeah, it's good. It's good at border, but the big places, Paul.
Oh yeah, for sure. America is a big place. Where is the borderline there? There you go. Of course, that was a lot of what is it? Not the Apaches, is it?
No, I'm not ruling out that something could have happened.
Yeah.
But it's just scant evidence for it, isn't it?
Yep. Okay. So where do we go from here then? Do we have a look at the comments? Could you please
I don't think there's any
clarify?
point, you know. I really don't think there's any point. Put this one to bed.
Alright, they're talking about the woman still. Yep. Question. Found no evidence that there was a shoulder. Yeah. Story. No worries. There's all the comments. Why is he saying Randall said? I don't get this. Search for proof in the Hall of Mirrors. What? Talking about drone flights here. So he's got freedom of information on drone flights with the monkeys on board. That's Nick. What's his name? Renford.
Nick Redfern, yeah, he's UK guy, but he's living out in America now, I believe.
Aspects of the story rely the monkey test at least can be found online here. Okay, well that's quite interesting. Also, for a document titled Early Cloud Penetration, prepared by the Air Research and Deployment, Kirtland Air Force, New Mexico. In the event of a nuclear warfare.
I think we're going off subject totally now. I don't think this has anything to do with the case, you know.
Well, they seem to think it is.
It's just a blog.
Yeah, but some interesting things here in the comment about the monkey tests.
Yeah, that's okay if you're having a personal conversation.
Yep, so where do you want me to go now? There's another link.
Okay, let's move on to the Coyame case.
Okay. This is in Mexico. Rob's changed the order of the episodes. So this is this location. Mexico. Here we go. What's that, underground caverns or what? What are we looking at there? Looks like it. Looks a really desert place there, doesn't it? That looks Western Kingman.
Yeah, I have no idea where you've gone now.
And that's where it said it was. Coyame, Mexico.
Coyame.
Looks like a smaller place than the other one we were looking at. So we zoom out. Is it in the right place? It looks like Mexico.
Yes.
On the border.
It's on the border, Texas.
Yeah. Right. So where do you want to go from here?
Well,
Link.
look at the last link here.
Why is that one taking so long? Okay, so just read it out. Whoop. I'll do that trick first just in case it goes wrong.
(974) August 25th, Coyame, Chihuahua, Mexico. Disk crashes on 25th of August, 1974, at 2207 HRS. United States Air Defense radar detected an unknown object approaching United States airspace from the Gulf of Mexico. Originally the object was tracked at 2,530 miles per hour, knots on a bearing of 325 degrees and at an altitude of 75,000 feet, a course that would intercept United States territory about 40 miles southwest of Corpus Christi, Texas. After approximately 60 seconds of observation, at a position 155 miles southeast of Corpus Christi, the object accelerated to approximately 1,955 miles per hour, knots, turned to a heading of 290 degrees, and began a slow descent. It entered Mexican airspace approximately 40 miles south of Brownsville, Texas. Radar tracked it approximately 500 miles to a point near the town of Coyame, in the state of Chihuahua, not far from the United States border. There the object suddenly disappeared from the radar screens. During the flight over Mexican airspace, the object leveled off at 45,000 feet, then descended to 20,000 feet. The descent was in level steps, not a smooth curve or straight line, and each level was maintained for approximately 5 minutes. The object was tracked by 2 different military radar installations. It would have been within range of Brownsville civilian radar, but it is assumed that no civilian radar detected the object due to a lack of any such reports. The point of disappearance from the radar screens was over a barren and sparsely populated area of northern Mexico. At first it was assumed that the object had descended below the radar's horizon and a watch was kept for any re-emergence of the object. None occurred. At first it was assumed that the object might be a meteor because of the high speed and descending flight path. But meteors normally travel at higher speeds, and descend in a smooth arc, not in steps. And meteors do not normally make a 35-degree change in course. Shortly after detection, an air defense alert was called. However, before any form of interception could be scrambled, the object turned to a course that would not immediately take it over United States territory. The alert was called off within 20 minutes after the object's disappearance from the radar screen. 52 minutes after the disappearance, civilian radio traffic indicated that a civilian aircraft had gone down in that area. But it was clear that the missing aircraft had departed El Paso International with a destination of Mexico City, and could not, therefore, have been the object tracked over the Gulf of Mexico. It was noted, however, that they both disappeared in the same area and at the same time. With daylight the next day, Mexican authorities began a search for the missing plane. At approximately 10:35 hours, there came a radio report that wreckage from the missing plane had been spotted from the air. Almost immediately came a report of a second plane on the ground a few miles from the first. A few minutes later, an additional report stated that the second plane was circular-shaped and apparently in one piece although damaged. A few minutes after that, the Mexican military clamped radio silence on all search efforts.
So what's that video there?
Okay, so it's it's quite a story, isn't it? Oh, look, it's just a depiction, pal. There's no need to be looking at that.
The radio interceptions were reported through channels to the CIA. Possibly as many as 2 additional government agencies also received reports, but such has not been confirmed as of this date. The CIA immediately began forming a recovery team. The speed with which this team and its equipment was assembled suggests that this was either a well-rehearsed exercise or one that had been performed prior to this event. In the meantime, requests were initiated at the highest levels between the United States and Mexican governments that the United States recovery team be allowed onto Mexican territory to assist. These requests were met with professed ignorance and a flat refusal of any cooperation. By 21 HRS, 26th of August, 1974, the recovery team had assembled and been staged at Fort Bliss. Several helicopters were flown in from some unknown source and assembled in a secured area. These helicopters were painted a neutral sand color and bore no markings. Eyewitness indicates that there were 3 smaller craft, very probably a Hull Hueys from the description. There was also a larger helicopter, possibly a Sea Stallion. Personnel from this team remained with their craft and had no contact with other FT Bliss personnel.
Okay, so
It's fairly dramatic at this stage, isn't it? There's a lot going on.
So whereabouts is that on the map? This location. Fort Bliss, Texas, right? So it's right over the border, I guess. Is it going to draw a line? So it's not too far away. There we go. Pretty close from the crash.
Yeah, hence they got there fairly quickly. But they must have had, as in the alleged Project Bluebeam.
Project Bluebeam?
Recovery. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Crash recovery of anything. Fosvin.
Are you sure you got the right name there? Because I thought Project Bluebeam was where they project this thing in the sky.
I don't think so.
I think it is.
I think it was Clifford Stone. I could have had the name wrong.
What's going on there? Something gone wrong there. Hang on. Damn it. Where's the top of it again? What's that? Satellites. That's not it. Satellite, here we go.
Satellite and aircraft overflight that day indicated that both the crashed disc and the civilian aircraft had been removed from the crash sites and loaded on flatbed trucks. Later flights confirmed that the convoy had departed the area heading south. At that point, the CIA had to make a choice, either to allow this unknown aircraft to stay in the hands of the Mexican government, or to launch the recovery team, supplemented by any required military support, to take the craft. There occurred, however, an event that took the choice out of their hands. High-altitude overflights indicated that the convoy had stopped before reaching any inhabited areas or major roads. Recon showed no activity, and radio contact between the Mexican recovery team and its headquarters had ceased. A low-altitude, high-speed overflight was ordered. The photos returned by that aircraft showed all trucks and jeeps stopped, some with open doors, and 2 human bodies laying on the ground beside 2 vehicles. The decision was immediately made to launch the recovery team, but the actual launching was held up for the arrival of additional equipment and 2 additional personnel. It was not until 1438 HRS that the helicopters departed FT Bliss. The 4 helicopters followed the border down towards Presidio, then turned and entered Mexican airspace north of Candelaria. They were over the convoy site at 1653 HRS. All convoy personnel were dead, most within the trucks. Some recovery team members, dressed in bioprotection suits, reconfigured the straps holding the object on the flatbed truck, then attached them to a cargo cable from the Sea Stallion. By 1714 HRS, the recovered object was on its way to United States territory. Before leaving the convoy site, members of the recovery team gathered together the Mexican vehicles and bodies, then destroyed all with high explosives. This included the pieces of the civilian light plane which had been involved in the mid-air collision. At 1746 HRS, the Hueys departed. The Hueys caught up with the Sea Stallion as it re-entered United States airspace. The recovery team then proceeded to a point in the Davis Mountains, approximately 25 miles northeast of Valentine. There they landed and waited until 2:25 HRS the next morning. At the time they resumed the flight and rendezvoused with a small convoy on a road between Van Horn and Kent. The recovered disc was transferred to a truck large enough to handle it and capable of being sealed totally. Some of the personnel from the Hueys transferred to the convoy. All helicopters then returned to their original bases for decontamination procedures. The convoy continued non-stop, using back roads and smaller highways, and staying away from cities. The destination of the convoy reportedly was Altantac, Georgia.
And so if there's
it's actually Project Blue Fly I was talking about.
No, you said Project.
Well,
you said Blue Beam.
I said it was Blue Fly.
I think you said Blue Beam, but anyway, we'll have to
No, I said Blue Beam. It's actually Blue Fly.
Yeah, that's right. But I thought a Blue Beam is where they're projecting holograms into sky. There's Project Blue.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So what killed the troops on the ground?
Well, this is it. They say it was either some kind of leakage from the saucer itself, or it was maybe one of the entities had some kind of very fast-acting bacteria that.
But there would be some documentation to prove there were men dead on that particular day. So
yeah, hold on.
Let's
coming to that.
Coming to that. Atlanta, Georgia. Also, remember, wasn't it Chase? What's her name? From MUFON.
Chase Kotsky.
She was part of this. Is it the Star Team? I think it's called something like that. Where they've got a group of the best professionals and scientists in MUFON, and they get together very quickly. I think Il's in the team as well, and they fly them to locations to do investigations. Well, apparently, I think she mentioned it on Martin Willis' show, this one, where they got together to fly down there to collect evidence before the military got on the scene. But I think the military, I'm not sure what she said. I think they may have beaten the military just or something, or got shut out by the military. I can't remember. I have to go back and see if I can find the episode. But I'm pretty sure that's the one that she was talking about. And then, wasn't there some guy that wrote a letter saying that he was disappointed that that information from the Star Team wasn't actually in the MUFON database, that it was like a separate database they were entering this information into, so it wasn't public? That was in that leaked letter, about the guy that was really upset with Chase. Remember that one? I read it out many, many, many years ago. Well, actually a year ago probably, is it now? That was a really interesting letter.
Sure.
So, yeah, politics and MUFON. But this shows that there is secret DBs that MUFON have got that we don't know anything about.
Well, you know my opinions on MUFON, Paul, so...
Yeah.
Here the hard evidence thins out. One unconfirmed report says the disc was eventually transferred to Wright-Patterson AF base. Another says that the disc was either transferred after that to another unnamed base, or was taken directly to this unknown base directly from Atlanta. The best description of the disc was that it was 16 feet, 5 inches in diameter, convex on both upper and lower surfaces to the same degree, possessing no visible doors or windows. The thickness was slightly less than 5 feet. The color was silver, much like polished steel. There were no visible lights nor any propulsion means. There were no markings. There were 2 areas of the rim that showed damage, one showing an irregular hole approximately 12 inches in diameter with indented material around it. The other damage was described as a dent, about 2 feet wide. The weight of the object was estimated as approximately 1,500 pounds, based on the effect of the weight on the carrying helicopter and those who transferred it to the truck. There was no indication in the documentation available as to whether anything was visible in the hole. It seems likely that the damage with the hole was caused by the collision with the civilian aircraft. That collision occurred while the object was traveling approximately 1,700 knots, 1,955 miles per hour. Even ignoring the speed of the civilian aircraft, the impact would have been considerable at that speed. This is in agreement with the description of the civilian aircraft as being almost totally destroyed. What was being taken from the crash site was pieces of the civilian aircraft. The second damage may have resulted when the object impacted with the ground. The speed in that case should have been considerably less than that of the first impact. No mention is made of the occupants of the civilian aircraft. It is not known if any body or bodies were recovered. Considering the destruction of the civilian light aircraft in midair, bodies may well not have come down near the larger pieces.
So, what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, of course not. The poor guy inside the small aircraft would have been obliterated, basically, wouldn't he?
What was the small craft? A Piper or a Cessna?
I don't think it was. I'm not really sure. It's quite a vague description on that.
So, sort of relates to them also chasing Cessna in Australia there, right? A UFO. So, what year was that again? Oh, you got knocking at the door there.
Yeah, no problem. 2 seconds.
I'll just read out this last paragraph anyway. There you go.
Unfortunately, what caused the deaths of the Mexican recovery team is not known. Speculation ranges from a chemical released from the disc as a result of the damage, to a microbiological agent. There are no indications of death or illness by any of the recovery team. It would not have been illogical for the recovery team to have taken one of the bodies back with them for analysis. But there is no indication of that having happened. Perhaps they did not have adequate means of transporting what might have been a biologically contaminated body. Inquiries to the FAA reveal no documents concerning the civilian aircraft crash, probably because it did not involve a United States aircraft.
Cover up. So, small craft. Sounds very similar to the Australian case that we were looking at. Fred, whatever his name was. Fred. Plane disappearance. What's his name? I'm no good at names. UFO incident. Robert would know. Frederick. Frederick? Oh no,
Frederick Dalnegorsk. I don't think that's related to the case at all, you know.
Yeah, but he was a small plane.
It was a mid-air abduction. So how do you relate a small plane?
Yeah, but
what's happening here?
Hang on. In that case, remember, it was scraping sounds. Something hit the plane, and then it disappeared. It's very similar to that case, I thought. Except for the UFO didn't come down this time.
I don't know. I think you're trying to find a correlation that's just not there, you know.
Well, this is in October 1978, right? And this case is what, 5 years earlier? Was it 73? Was it?
74.
74, yeah. So it's 4-year difference, you know. Maybe UFOs are interested in the small planes, and that one made a stuff up and crashed into it, which caused it to crash, right?
Ooh, it's a bit of a stretch, but okay.
You're not meant to be the skeptic. We're switching roles here. So there was another link that you want us to follow?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of information there, and it's one hell of a study. So we really need to know exactly, where this is coming from. What was the source of the information?
Yeah. Well, you're presenting it or giving us the links to the information.
Yeah, sure.
I think I'm going to have to go to the toilet though as well. Do you need to go to the toilet or anything?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, well, I'll get it read and I'll slip away then.
Well, no, there's no point until you come back, because I don't need to go all over all this again. Just need to go original source of the UFO report.
You talk to the guys, and I'll be just back in a minute.
Yeah, I suppose the Coyame event kind of goes down in legend as one of those cases that can never be proved or disproved. It certainly would make for a great sci-fi movie, if nothing else. Yeah, unfortunately, we only have some limited data to go off, and a bunch of eyewitnesses that said there was definitely a crash, there was definitely a military presence, and there was definitely something taken away, but we don't know exactly what was taken away, as it was quite a desolate area, so it was a village area, but many people were quite aware that something did happen. And I think there was a couple of researchers, and one of them, so my friend's list, Ruben Uviat, and he's got a book out, and he went out there as a cold case years after, and he was looking at the case, and all he could really find was these Mexican villages that confirmed that something did happen, but what exactly happened,
okay, I'm back.
no one could be absolutely sure. Yeah, okay. I'll leave you the link now, Paul.
So I assume the audio is working quite nicely today. In fact, I haven't heard us cutting out when we're talking like the other day, so that's quite interesting.
Well, we don't need to be concerned about audio, Paul. It's about cases. That's all that matters, yeah. Okay, I've left you a link.
Okay.
Okay, if you scroll down, please, to
let me just increase the font a bit first.
Yeah.
It's not a very well formatted page, but looks it. Yep. So where do you want to go?
Keep going.
I think that's at the bottom of the page. So.
See, original source of your UFO reports. That's what you want.
Just that one?
Yeah. Get out.
Original source of UFO report. The Coyame UFO incident first came to light in 1992, when an account of the case was mailed anonymously to a number of UFO researchers in the United States and Europe. The document was titled, Research Findings on the Chihuahua Disc Crash, and was addressed to all DENEB team members. From J.S. in Washington, D.C. Elaine Douglas's of the UFO group Operation Right to Know received a copy and forwarded it to Leonard Stringfield, who included it in his 1994 publication, UFO Crash Retrievals. Search for proof in a hall of mirrors, Status Report 7. Acknowledged as the first UFO researcher to give serious credence to reports of crashed UFOs. Stringfield wrote that the Coyame incident was authoritatively written, using correct military terminology and, of note and unlike a hoax, draws a line between so-called hard evidence and that which is speculative.
Yeah, so you see, it's actually a copied document. So could this be disinformation? Or could it be someone that's actually telling the truth? Because whoever done it obviously had some background knowledge of the event. These locals definitely did detect a military presence, and there was definitely a crash. And Springfield was very well connected, you know.
And
he was an intelligence officer himself. He was an intelligence officer himself in the Air Force.
Yeah, you got to be careful of the Richard Dotties out there, though.
Yeah, that was a little bit before him.
I'm pretty sure they exist throughout the years, though. Do we need to read out the aftermath?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, sure.
How about the deaths of the troops? That could be verified in some sort of paperwork trail, surely.
Never has been.
Aftermath. After the report surfaced in 1992, the story of the Coyame UFO incident lay dormant until 2005, when producers of the cable television series UFO Files, shown on the History Channel, created a show based on the report. The show, called Mexico's Roswell, was one of several episodes about UFO crashes similar to the 1947 Roswell UFO incident. Written by Vincent Kralevich and Scott Miller. Mexico's Roswell. First aired on December 12, 2005, and featured commentary by veteran UFO investigator Ruben Uriart, the director of the Northern California chapter of the Mutual UFO Network, Muffin. Uriart had previously investigated UFO cases in Mexico and was Muffin's liaison to Mexico's civilian UFO groups.
Too many muffins and Muffin.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Too many cheesy muffins. So where do we go from here then?
Okay. This is finishing off now, Paul.
Alright. How are we going for time? 2 hours and 18 minutes coming up. Although we've probably spent enough on this one. It might be a short one this time.
Yeah.
We're both knackered. Here I'm surrounded by heat that keeps you awake, and now you've got other issues. Right, Randall again. Kevin Randall.
Yeah. It's listen to what he used to say in it.
It's got a bit there at the end there. Try that bit first. Come on.
The Coyame UFO crash. Torres and Ruben Uriart have become two of the most prolific writers of UFO lore, and they had produced a new book, The Coyame Incident. This tells the tale of a UFO crash in northern Mexico in 1974, at first recovered by the Mexican Army but later captured by American military forces. The crash was the result of a collision between a small, general aviation airplane that had taken off from El Paso, Texas, en route to Mexico City, and a UFO that was tracked by radar into American airspace and then into Mexico. The story was first reported by Len Stringfield in his UFO Crash/Retrievals. Search for proof in a hall of mirrors. Status Report 7 published in February 1994. His source was Elaine Douglas's, a UFO researcher active with Operation Right to Know, who received her copy of the report from J.S., who is never identified. and who was apparently a member of something called the Deneb Team. This document was entitled Research Findings on the Chihuahua Disc Crash and was dated March 23, 1992. Stringfield wasn't too happy with the data and wrote, "Despite the risk of publishing a bunch of baloney, the full text of the report is reproduced herewith, hoping the incident can be verified or exposed as mis or disinformation. The whole of that report as published by Stringfield follows."
That's all that text there.
Yeah, it's important to point out here that that Randall, well, I've got to say this, you know, he lives as Roswell because he done Roswell, and Roswell is the greatest case. Every other crash retrieval is just nonsense because I said so, and that's kind of Randall's attitude. And he cherry-picked there what Stringfield said, because he also said about that case that the documents he received appeared to be absolutely genuine.
So, do we need to read out all these little clips or what?
No, it's totally up to you.
I think there might be graphics, actually. Yeah, look like the graphics. Here, I think we've already heard all those facts, though, haven't we? Well, maybe not. We can't read it out, so we have to read it out. There's quite a lot there to read out, though. What's the other stuff here? Airspace, the object leveled off 45,000 feet. Yeah, we've heard all that before, haven't we? Level steps, not smooth curve or straight line, and level was maintained for approximately 5 minutes. So that's what we've read out before. And CIA had to make a choice. I think we've already read that out. Someone's converted that into a normal text page. Looks like he's copied it from the same place. Here we go. Caught up with the sea stallion. Well, it's cut down to what we read there anyway. Civilian, what's this thing? Events ignoring the speed of the civilian aircraft, I suppose. What's that talking about there? The second damage. I think we read all that on the other page. It looks looks very similar. So we'll just carry on reading this chunk here. Oh, that'll do. Oh. New Mexico. Have I got it? Yes.
So he's talking about the book now that
Torres and Uriart took up the challenge and began an investigation into this tale with the hope of adding to the information available.
What he's saying? I can resume it.
Now, Ruben Uviat and his friend went out on a cold case investigation of this. This is what Ken Brandle's talking about now. Torres and Uviat.
Torres and Uriart took up the challenge and began an investigation into this tale with the hope of adding to the information available. The result of that investigation is their book. It is an interesting book that is a fast read. It is loaded with names and dates, but most of it is a description of their travels into Mexico and their attempts to find verification of the crash. From the photographs it is clear that both of them were in Mexico and on the field where a small aircraft did crash in 1974. They found bits of wreckage and evidence of a hot fire. That debris, along with soil samples, was analyzed by an independent laboratory, and while not all elements could be identified, that does not lead to the conclusion that there was something alien in it. They interviewed a man who was a retired California police officer who told of seeing a small, strange creature when he visited his grandmother in the Coyame area in 1974 when he was 13. The creature he described was similar to that seen much later in Varginha, Brazil. But the creature can't be tied to the UFO crash simply because the officer said that when he told his grandmother about it, she said she had seen the same thing. Her sightings preceded the UFO crash and she had said nothing to the family about it earlier because she didn't think they would believe her. Ruben Uriart and Noah Torres. And here is the problem with the book. It contains other, similar tales that might or might not be related to the UFO crash, if one did take place. The witnesses, interviewed so long after the event, remember seeing something that might have fallen in 1974. They might have seen the plane crash. There might have been soldiers in the area. The major problem is told in an email sent to me. No said, the evidence is definitely thin, as we always say in our presentations. It's an amazing story, but one that cries out for more data. We're approaching this continuing research effort with the assistance of our fellow investigators in Mexico.
You think there'd be a lot of witnesses to this, and
Yeah, Paul, that there was plenty of witnesses to a military presence and a crash, but they didn't get close enough to see exactly what it was.
But the
So
alien
something's
creature
happening.
story.
I kind of lend some credence to this case, to be honest.
Yeah, but you think someone would have tried to get the people on film talking about the alien creature they saw? Is my point.
Well, I'm not sure if that's
Even relevant to this case.
Fact on myth.
Yeah.
I don't recall anybody saying there was alien creatures involved.
Well, obviously it would have a pilot though. So technically,
don't be silly, Paul. For God's sakes, it could be remotely controlled.
Yes, it's a long shot, I suppose.
I think
And
it's
that
a
sums
long
up
shot
everything
with
about the
anything
book.
that's,
The evidence is thin, but it demands more data.
Yeah. Yep. Long
20
shot.
feet in circumference has to have a pilot.
Well,
I think the risk-benefit ratio of that is just a little bit silly, isn't it?
Well, they're pretty small creatures, these 3-foot grey aliens, so... right, I just have to click that, don't I?
And that sums up everything about the book. The evidence is thin, but it demands more data. This is the same thing that Stringfield said in 1994 when he first reported the case to a wider audience. What we have here is an interesting account of an investigation into a reported UFO crash that has little in the way of evidence. That fact is underscored by the lack of information about the small plane crash. That one did crash in the area is not in dispute, but other than that, almost nothing is known about it, including the name of the pilot.
Mm-hmm. So Randall doesn't like this one.
He's not poo-pooing it, but he is in a way, isn't he? He's kind of... You see, you got to understand now this about Kevin Randall. This was a guy who said quite a few things, to be honest. He said alien abductions are a load of bollocks. Then he did a full U-turn and said, yes, they're happening.
Yes, I remember that.
He said Roswell was 1,000,000% real. Then he said it was only 75% real. This guy has changed his mind on so many things.
Yeah.
That I don't trust him.
This guy.
And I tell you what, I listened to an interview with him, with the Black Vault guy, John Greenwald, and he's so out of touch now with the UFO subject. It's unbelievable.
Oh, there he is there.
Yeah.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, he was a captain in the army, and he tends to harp on about his own career while he's supposed to be talking about UFOs.
I think that says even on the wiki page that he changed his mind over abduction cases. I think that's where I read it.
Because it was trending that way. That's the only reason he changed his mind.
There's a little bit left at the end here we didn't get to. Come on, you rat bag. We've got 5 watching now all of a sudden.
Torres and Uriart are to be commended for their attempt to learn more about this incident. They have added a little data to the report, but the real importance of their book is the descriptions of their research. Here we see how they have approached the case, how they investigated it, and what they have found. If for no other reason, this is why the book should be in every UFO researcher's library. There is something to be learned about research methods here.
So you didn't want to add any more to this? I suppose no one actually got close enough to draw any pictures of it. But you think someone would have seen something streaking across the sky, though, and drawn some pictures of it. But I thought the MUFON people, the Star team, got down there, I'm pretty sure. What's the place called? I'm pretty sure that's what she talked about when she was on Martin Willis. I wonder if we can find it. Probably might be a bit too tricky to get it now. But you probably could have queued it up in Martin's show where she's talking about it. Let's see. Does it even MUFON Star Team? Mexico crash, maybe. Mexicon. I spelled it wrong. MUFON listed there. Oswald. I'll probably have to put the city name in, I guess. Star Team and Special Assignment Team set. Aztec. That's nonsense.
I'm not sure Aztec is nonsense, you know. I think something happened there.
But wasn't it two guys trying to sell metal detectors, that one?
Mate, I've seen the court case and that was a whitewash.
Yeah, it's on Martin's show anyway. I think she was talking about it. Martin Willis. So if you're not watching him, you should sub to him. He does pretty good stuff. Interviews. But Chase was on it, talking about her UFO sighting of the TR-3B, which was quite interesting. And yet she was a MUFON investigator.
Shit.
What are you saying that for? She was a MUFON investigator, and she said all the batteries in the cameras died, and she didn't have any cameras locked off way away from the scene. At least they would have caught something in the sky, probably. Apparently she bumped into, so we could search on, make it easier to find her, probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to find something for you now that I found of interest the other day. I think it was Gatwick, where apparently drones shut it down.
Okay, looks like she's been on the show a few times here. Which one was the one that they were talking about? I don't know. Happy New Year. 10 months ago, probably that one. There's L from MUFON. Let's have a look. Is that the one she's talking about it? We might be able to bring up a transcript.
After the craft is gone, of course. And I'm reaching down looking at my equipment and I'm so frustrated. Like I'm ready to, I was already ready to drop F-bombs. In fact, I think I did one or two because I was so frustrated because it's right there. You know, I have all the equipment in the world and it was useless, absolutely useless. And it's so frustrating as an investigator because nobody cares what I think as an investigator. No one cares what I believe. And I didn't want just another story. We have tens of thousands of stories.
Oh yeah, so she's talking about the sighting that she didn't get any evidence of. It was like probably the smoking gun evidence of all time. So I'll just post that link into the side there for people to watch the full thing because it's really interesting. Even though she's not well liked by a lot of people, especially after.
No, that's fair enough.
After plug-in secure team is a good channel. Or what did she say? She said Tyler was awesome, or some crazy wording like that.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Hey, listen, do you want to have a quick look at this before we finish off as a bonus case, if you like?
All right, yeah. I was just going to search
yeah,
the transcript, see if I can find it. It was talking about the starting. Hang on. I think it was in this episode. Let's see if it works. Open transcript. Should be allow us to search it. Here we go. Renee saying Tyler Klotner. And the Mavi 777. Yeah, they're both the same person probably. Because he's the one that's always going on other people's YouTube saying, me and security team will be using your video if you give us permission. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, this transcript's taking forever. Oh, here we go. So it gives us a breakdown of what's being said. So hopefully it's gone right to the end. It's pretty handy that. You can then select it all and copy it. And then you can search as well. So we should be able to search, find, starting. I think this is the one she's talking about it. Just, what's going on there? Starting. What's it done? It's found one match. Where is it? Suppose it's stuffed up, is it? Where's it going to? On the page, it should highlight the word. And that normally works. Starting, was it in here? 88 minutes. Maybe I'll have to scroll up again. So that's one thing they lack. That's one thing they lack is hasn't got a search thing here. I don't think they've added it in. Let's see. Investigator, 12 minutes. Drifting. I'll see if I can spot it on the side myself. Tri-Fi Nida decided to change batteries. So she's talking about the site in there. The triangle, we're very happy dancing to see this triangle.
Yeah, I mean, there's a load of stuff on there, but where are we going?
I was just trying to find the starting to where she was talking about going down there. But maybe it's not in this episode. I think it might be in that resignation letter where he was talking about it. I have to dig it up again. But yeah, it's a good episode. Go and watch it, guys. It's on the side there.
Okay.
Yeah, it may not have been there. It might have been the registration, sign letter or complaint letter to. I can't remember even who wrote it, but it was from Chris Cogswell. Posted it around at the time. But I'm pretty sure it talked about that particular case at the end there. But I've probably got in my storage folders there somewhere. So you want to look at another link?
Yeah, this is very interesting. I called this one out early. I thought, no way in hell is an international airport being closed down 36 hours over a drone. Some sprog 14-year-old little spotty-faced kid closes down an international airport, cancels over 2,000 flights, leaves loads of people stranded with his little drone.
I thought we covered this one before, though.
That he bought from... No, we haven't. I haven't covered that, Paul.
Oh, we've brought it up.
You done it or not, I don't know.
No,
you may have brought it up, but let's have another look at it.
If you want. You want me to read it out?
No, I've got a link there.
Yeah, do you want me to read that stuff on the screen?
You don't... Well, you haven't got it up yet, have you?
Yeah, I have, look.
There you go. Yes, you have. My apologies.
You want me to read it out? Okay.
A little after 9 p.m. on the 19th of December 2018. Following the sightings of drones near Gatwick Airport in Sussex, at the start of one of the busiest times of the year. The airport shut down and essentially came to a standstill for over 24 hours. Although there was going to be obvious jumps from some to suggest UFO activity, the amount of information coming from the airport themselves, as well as the eventual arrest of 2 suspects 2 days later, would suggest the incident to be a prank. Or perhaps a disgruntled employee. Or even someone with extreme environmental views.
Yeah. So the people arrested weren't the ones that were doing it?
No, I think that was a cover story.
I think I covered this in a live debunk, saying that it was odd that worldwide everybody was changing the rules about who could own drones and how close you could get to airports flying them. New Zealand expanded that from 1k to 5 kilometres away now. So yeah, it seemed like it was like a false flag. Everybody was a bit suspect that was about to cause the governments worldwide to change the policies on drones.
Okay, but let the story unfold.
However, as the airport began to get back to normal and clear its substantial backlog of Christmas holidaymakers, the story of the drones began to seem less and less authentic. For a start, several witnesses at the airport themselves would state that whatever the strange lights were, they were not drones. Furthermore, the pair arrested were a husband and wife. A pair later released, without charge, following their apparent cooperation. Further still, a statement would come from the police that the drones might not have been drones at all. In short, in the space of a weekend, the story has gone from an apparent case of extreme irresponsibility to one of extreme suspicion.
Yeah, but the videos I saw were pretty bad. I think most of them were seagulls. Spud cam footage, right?
Before we delve into the details of the incident at Gatwick a little further, check out the video below. It is one of the many news clips from the night and following day in question. Was this just some bizarre prank? Or might whatever caused such a drastic measure, as understandable a decision as it was, be the result of something more far-reaching than a remote-controlled drone?
Yeah, you gotta get out of that smoking.
Well, can you hear that?
Drones on the runway.
Sure we can.
As thousands of passengers congregated in the departure lounges and check-in desks of Gatwick Airport on the evening of 19th of December. Many eager to begin their long-planned Christmas vacation, with thousands more careering down the nation's motorways and A-roads with the same thing in mind, came the announcement of further, more long-term delays to their flights. And what's more, there was no news when the delayed flights would finally get off the ground. According to the reports coming out of the airport, and from media platforms around the world, drones were present and buzzing around the runways.
I'll read out all this and I'll do a search for that letter. It's got me going now. Oh, well, we can read out that, I suppose.
Incoming planes would receive alternative airport landing destinations in Luton, Heathrow, and Stansted, with some landing as far as Birmingham and Manchester. People due to arrive at the airport would receive advice to remain at home or in a nearby hotel. Basically, anywhere but the airport. Of course, for some, that wasn't an option. Or, they were already in transit and unaware of the bizarre events unfolding above Gatwick. Following an apparent quietening of these mysterious and, for the airport, costly drones, the decision came to begin boarding passengers and resume takeoffs once again. However, almost unbelievably, within 45 minutes of activity commencing to resume flights from the runways, did the drones return. This once more would force airport security to shut down the runways. For thousands of people already at the airport, instead of setting off to their respective destinations, they were bedding down for the night in the freezing December cold of London. And what's more, there was no timetable as to when they might finally board their planes and be on their way. An apparent picture of the Gatwick drone, a deliberate act of disruption, by 9 a.m. the following morning on the 20th of December, with the busiest weekend of the year almost upon them. Planes had been grounded for a total of 12 hours. Most would remain so for the remainder of the day, with another apparent drone sighting in broad daylight around noon on the Thursday. Just to put some figures of the knock-on effect of the incident, 10,000 passengers were affected on the Wednesday evening when the drones first arrived, with 110,000 passengers scheduled to arrive at the airport on the Thursday. Furthermore, over 700 flights were affected by the time they resumed later Thursday evening. Interestingly, in relation to whether passengers could expect any form of financial compensation, the Civil Aviation Authority would state that the incident was one of extraordinary circumstances. They most certainly were. And the more the incident remained in the spotlight, the circumstances began to appear more and more extraordinary. There was a significant armed police response team on standby on the runways, for example. However, they would state that options of shooting down the drone didn't go beyond conversation. They would claim there was a risk of stray bullets should they attempt to shoot at the invading craft.
You know, something's amiss here, isn't there?
Explain.
No, I'm not saying it can't be conventionally explained, but we're yet to hear, you know, something that's, you know, legitimate, that's something that makes sense. And it's not a drone, is it? Come on, let's face it. I think there's something in their airspace and they didn't know what it was.
Yep.
They're not a good explanation for it.
It's annoying I can't find that letter. It was quite a good letter too. So where did we get to? Down the bottom.
Okay, by the time the incident was seemingly over, it was the biggest disruption. Okay, do you want to read that out then?
Well, they can knock down drones from the sky, right? Whether it interferes with airplanes, I don't know. But they can...
yeah, if it gets sucked into the jet engine, whatever, but my God, it shouldn't stop it taking off.
Yeah,
I mean,
but...
it's like saying basically, you know, we're shutting down this airport because there's birds in the sky.
Yeah. But you can aim a drone shoot down thing. You can even shoot it down with a rifle, even. But you can't do that around the airport.
This is what I'm saying. They shouldn't have been shutting it down for a trivial matter like that. I think there was something else going on.
Oh, more than likely. So read out some more. What's going on? It's not going to read anymore. We've got to our limit.
By the time the incident was seemingly over, it was the biggest disruption to a UK airport since the Icelandic volcano ash incident in April 2010, which saw a number of flights grounded as a safety measure. While that was perfectly understandable to most, this almost immediately saw people question just what was actually taking place above the skies of Gatwick. Suspicious arrests, and an even more suspicious release. On the evening of the 21st of December, the Friday, a married couple were arrested and questioned regarding the incident.
Out again.
Paul.
So what's this? The picture of alleged drone, was it? So that's what I mean. It's like spud cam, right? So it was at night time, not during the day, wasn't it? So, but I thought there was some daytime snaps as well. But I'm pretty sure they were debunked as birds or something, seagulls, you know.
Okay, so what you're saying, the birds stopped an international flight then for 36 hours?
No, the planes were still moving around on the tarmac with the objects that were shown on the videos.
Yeah, Paul, okay, what shut the airport down then? Are you telling me it didn't happen?
What I'm saying is the videos that were out there on the web weren't the drone.
I don't care about the videos. I'm talking about the shutdown and what caused it.
Well, obviously this thing that they're claiming is the drone in the sky, which is just a single
right.
light on that
Yeah.
one. But who's to say that's not a lens flare? We haven't got
Yeah.
we haven't got
So now you're saying lens flare shut the airport down for 36 hours.
well, I don't know what this is. What these images that we're
Oh, Paul.
getting. What's that one? No. So there's no videos there. There's security on the page, believe it or not. Far-reaching and aimed around reducing rights of flying objects. That's what I was saying. Ultra-motive. False flag. Nobody would argue that drone actually over airports is an action that should wake up the powers. Through the eyes of the drone or not. So what actually happened? Since it went away, right? So
Well, yeah.
They
didn't feel it was safe for a period of 36 hours.
No.
So what was in the airspace?
Yeah, it's like it.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it was never resolved. The thing just went away, but then they changed all the laws, right?
They what? Changed all the laws?
Yeah, they changed the laws of drone ownership.
Oh, Jesus.
They changed the laws. Don't you remember? Wasn't it? Is it mentioned in here at all? That you had to do training on how to use a drone. You had to get certificate of ownership. You had to log your serial numbers. You couldn't fly above a certain altitude, 1,000 feet, is it, or something like that. New laws come into effect after that incident. New laws.
New drone laws, 2018.
New drone laws bring added protection for passengers. Law will restrict drones from flying above 400 feet within 1 kilometre of the airport. New laws.
That's the 30th of May. So exactly when did this incident happen then?
I can't remember.
Let's go back.
Guide to new 2018 drone regulations.
Yeah, December 2018. So those laws came in before the incident even happened, Paul.
Not the ones in New Zealand didn't. After this happened, New Zealand brought in new laws. There was some more laws after December as well. Updates, here you go. I wonder if it's got the list of dates. Legal drone. Well, let's have a look at that one. That's New Year 2019.
Yeah, you're making no attempt to explain what happened.
Well, I don't know what happened because we ain't got no decent footage of it, have we?
No, we don't have footage. Or do you want, an alien to land on your knee and give you a kiss, good night, or whatever, All they can do is surmise. You're desperately trying to find a logical explanation when there isn't really one there.
There's a terrible font on this.
Jesus.
There were some new changes to it though. I just can't remember whereabouts it is because they're talking about all the different changes over different years. What's that one there? It's really terrible font, mate. It's too bad for my eyes. I'm pretty sure there were some changes at the time. I remember covering it. I suppose you got to put new laws for drone Gatwick, was it? Here we go.
And 2 weeks later, Heathrow was shut down. I think that was about 18 hours or 24 hours. I'm not sure. But it happened again.
Yep.
And it wasn't drones. So you're flogging a dead horse looking for drone laws.
There you go. So it went from 1 kilometre to 5 kilometres after that event. Extended from 1 kilometre to 5. So there you go, that one's got it. New drone lines will push them 5 kilometres from airports with no fly zones expanded after Gatwick chaos. Okay. I know there was.
Well, hold on, that's bullshit because they're showing a picture of a drone. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if there's
you're
any.
Looking at an incident. You're looking at an incident in 2014 there.
Drone incident videos. I think there were some pictures or videos. Let's have a look. Let's search images. Drone incident images. Okay, so all these are photoshopped, obviously. So, was there any actual real images to go with here?
No, but the witnesses were saying they were not drones.
Doesn't look like it. What's that one there? Continues. I see, they got this thing up on the roof now, have they? To shoot them down. I know they can take control of the remote control and bring it down. Here we go. So that might be one image. Is that where we got the best that we got of the drone? So-called drone. It was like a bug or blur, or blurfo. Bird. I suppose it could be a drone too. Looks a bit too small to be a UFO though, Robert. If that's...
Oh mate, I don't know what distance it is. So do you know what I mean? If that was 20,000 miles away, it could be huge. You know, if it was a couple 100 feet away, it could be small. I don't know, mate. Can you judge your distance on a blank sky?
Well, we can do if we've got some buildings in the picture.
Well, there is no buildings in the picture, is there?
Looks like it's the only one they've got because they keep pointing to it. Here we go, we've got another one here.
Paul, you're digging yourself into a deeper hole here all the time. You may as well just say it's fucking unexplained.
What's the language? Well, it is the ring, got no images of it. It's like the O'Hare airport thing, right?
Yeah.
But it could even be a plane in the distance that's coming into land, or in circulation where...
it could be Superman.
There's not much there. There's only a little blob in the sky, and that nighttime one as well that we saw. Here it is. Here is it. That might be it. Same picture. But that's just a... That looks like nothing there, doesn't it? Looks like something on the landing strip. Yeah, it's just strange that no one actually had a decent, a P1000 at the airport, right? Going on holiday, you'd think someone would have a decent
listen,
camera.
Mate, I've got one of them, and you realise to focus on something that's far away. It's fine adjustments, even on a tripod. Then you zooming in, it's fine adjustments again to get a really decent, and the autofocus on it isn't that good. It takes 3 or 4 seconds before it focuses, and then you can actually hit the trigger, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as what people suggest, and anything off a mobile phone camera, as you know, it doesn't have an actual lens, does it?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I can't find that letter. That's damn annoying. But if I dig it up, meantime, I will bring it up next time we do it, I guess. I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find the reference to starting going down there and having a separate database to the MUFON one. The guy was complaining. Can't remember what his name was. He was saying that they shouldn't have a separate database for starting. It should be used in normal database, so it's available to everybody. Which was really a good point that he was making. I don't know what actually happened.
An excellent point.
It actually got hushed up, I think. We didn't actually hear anything in conclusion to it. I think Chase didn't lose a job. I'm not sure if he left or got demoted or what.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else do you want to talk about then, apart from the drone thing? I suppose we should wrap up now. We're over 3 hours.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, there's always stuff to talk about. You can see I've got millions of tabs here to talk about stuff coming up on Sunday night. So yeah. Oh, you're banging your mic.
I did.
See, I didn't actually see that one. I know Security Team put up a video with something popping up, but I'm pretty sure that was a seagull that was on that video.
Security Team will jump onto anything, won't they?
Yeah. So guys,
and the worst thing is with Security Team is one day they'll have a really good case and no one's going to take it seriously.
The boy that cried wolf, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's shit on his chips, as my parents would say. Once you've been caught out faking stuff, it tarnishes everything from that point onwards. But he's putting up silly videos, you know, banner plane and skydivers, and he's not even. And then he cropped one video, which is clearly a flares dropped. Once you saw the second half of the video, it was clear that it was a plane in front of it dropping flares. But yeah, he's just getting really, really lazy and sloppy now. But he seems to be working on other projects, they say. I know he was trying to make a documentary.
Like how can he con someone else?
Well, I've always said if he's got one big channel, he's probably got some other big YouTube channels under different names that you don't know about, right? So you might have one for paranormal, you know, videos or whatever, one for something else, you know, you don't know, because he's been caught out with the Angry Truth Seeker fake account that he made to troll himself, and he got found out because he forgot to log out, and it put the comment at the top of the page, and everybody pointed it out. Hey, you liar! But yeah. He's
made his bed now, so he's got to lie in it.
Yeah, he's still the biggest UFO channel out there, and they're still hanging on his breath because they like the 10-minute videos, unfortunately. And you can't really cover a UFO case in 10 minutes. That's just ridiculous. You could just probably read one paragraph of one of those cases that we've done in 10 minutes, and that's about it. So it doesn't tell you anything. What was investigated or tried to debunk on it.
No. All you can get in 10 minutes is an introduction.
Yeah.
Nothing more than that.
No eyewitness accounts or no other UFO sightings in the area that matched it or over the years or whatever. But suppose we should wrap up and let everybody get their lunches. I suppose it must be 10 o'clock in the morning in New York City, and it would be probably 7 in the morning now at California, and UK is 12 hours behind now, isn't it? So you're at 3:30, coming up to 4 p.m. So yeah, thanks.
20 coming up to 23.
23.
Yeah.
Right. That makes you 13 hours behind then.
It is.
I thought it was 12. But anyway,
Nah.
thanks for joining us, guys.
Clocks went back here.
Yeah.
So now we're 13.
Oh, right, yeah. That's right. It was a lot easier when it was 12. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. And we're not sure what cases we're doing next weekend, but Robert will think of something.
Well, I'd like to do Shag Harbour.
Okay.
But I think you've got a bit of an issue with that one, haven't you?
No.
I'd
we
like
can
to
do that
Shag Harbour and the Gina case in Brazil.
I just got some skeptic link I can give you that talks about it being Chinese lanterns, but
I don't think it was anything to do with Chinese lanterns. Nah, there's too much information there. Anyway, look, it doesn't matter. We're not going to disagree on it now. We'll look at the information and, you produce your best data and I'll produce mine. Okay?
Well, you need to put a skeptic debunks on it. Not everyone's heard of the Chinese lanterns one, but apparently it was mentioned in police reports, but there was a lot more that went on with that case. People saw things and all that.
Yeah, I think there was multiple events there,
So, like I've always said, it can be multiple events. So they said the lanterns crashed into the sea, and that what created the scummy green foam or whatever it was.
Now that is the biggest shock of whatever. That's horse feathers.
Anyway, yeah. Well, the guy that's a debunker is a crazy Christian dude, which has got some crazy views. But we can go over that next time we do it. Anyway, so
we can do that.
I don't believe him. There's one of the suggestions out there, which could explain the froth. Maybe if it was a fire balloon, as they called them. It would have to be a lot of oil to create a lot of froth. You know what I mean?
Oh Jesus! Yeah, I mean, okay, the fisherman could have easily mistaken. This is something they would normally see, but okay, we'll go over that. That'll be good.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that because a lot of skeptics, the skeptics look at one thing and they sort of fix on one thing, where it might have been multiple events, and. So maybe something to it.
See, there was pilot sightings, and there was sonar, radar tracking. There was all kinds of stuff that.
And plus there was meant to be some secret sub research from the Russians or something, wasn't there as well?
Yes.
So there's quite a lot to that case. Anyway, we might do that, and the other one he mentioned, and I'll be doing my Sunday debunks and going over stuff. So I'll be recapping and going over this Sunday, 6 p.m. California time. I'll be looking at all these tabs here on various stuff that I've bookmarked. One being the Turkish aliens inside the craft. I'll be going over that again. Robert's been through it with me before. But I'll go over it a wee bit better, hopefully, to show people what it actually was, and what else was going to do. There was all sorts of things here. I can't remember exactly, but that'd be one of the things I'll be looking at. And also the Concorde video was another one with a UFO that pops up into the video on 16mm film, I think it was. So I'll be going over that one as well, and I think the other ones I can't remember, but anyway, we'll just wind down now. Thanks for joining us and liking, There's almost always stuff to talk about in the UFO stuff. It's never ending.
Hell yeah.
And it takes all our day up just watching, seeing what's going on, so then you can put it all together.
Keeping up to date.
Yeah, keeping up to date with all the rubbish that's going on.
Yeah, thinking of next week's episode and doing your research on that, trying to find something that's a little bit different to what everybody else has heard.
Well, this one's been a bit different.
When you got a bit of spare time, you start a bit of reading. And what you read about UFOs. Oh well.
Well, the Russian Roswell was different. I haven't heard that one for a while now. Probably a few years since I've heard that one mentioned. But
yeah. It's a better case than what most people think, you know.
Yeah. So that's the very first one. So you'd have to wait to Google's process, so you can roll back and watch it if you missed it. So I'm just going to close with the end credits here. And hopefully it works. Is it playing music? Okay, it is. Good night to everybody. Now we get more people watching in time, I think, Robert. Tonight's been pretty bad. I think we got up to average watch time of 14 minutes, but we had 35 people drop in and out throughout the whole night.
No, it's a lot better than last week.
We'll see.
Are we offline now?
No. I swear. We're talking over the music playing at the end here.
Shit.
At least we got one sub during the live, but I don't think they were watching. Maybe they were coming back. Anyway, I think the music's probably louder than us talking. I'm not actually sure now with the new setup. I say Google's way behind here. Seems to get longer and longer. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's stalling. From what I can see now.
I haven't ended it yet. Just going to click the button now.